Call the meeting of the Lincoln Park Mayor and City Council of March 19th to order. If everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be immediately followed by the invocation by Pastor Joe Salazar of Christ Family Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask everybody to bow their heads, please. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord Jesus, Father God, Lord, thank you, Lord. Thank you for the many blessings that you bring upon us, Lord. Lord, today we are here at City Council meeting and asking favor, Lord. Asking the blessings of everybody, all the residents of Lincoln Park, the firefighters, the policemen, the people that are out there every day, Lord, saving our lives, doing the work for us, Lord. First responders. We want to pray for the men that served in the armed forces and that are serving in the armed forces today, Lord. And they are also there for us. Lord Jesus, for City Council. The councilmen, women, that you give them wisdom, Lord, for the things that are going to be brought upon them today, in front of them today, that they use wisdom and good judgment and according to your will, Lord. Lord Jesus, we ask that you bless the mayor. You bless every one of them in the council. All city employees. Lord Jesus, we have also favor for a couple families. Harold Burley, long-time city employee, who's passed. And we ask that you comfort the family, that you give them peace. Also, with Thomas Colwell, a long-time resident of Lincoln Park. Also, Lord, we need comfort and peace in the families, that you may comfort them for their loss. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. On March 15th. If we could have roll call, please.
Councilperson Darzinski.
Here.
Higgins.
Here.
Kelsey.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Mayor Kearns.
Here. Mayor's comments, my part will be relatively short. Thank you for those of you that came to the State of the City address and the State of the District. It was a very nice presentation. I thank the Rotary for putting that on, and all other volunteers that helped out that night, including the city staff, which did a remarkable job for us. That is all I pretty much have for my part of this, but we have Shannon and Company as well. It's Shannon Saul with talking about the SNAP program.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members and fellow neighbors and homeowners. My name is Shannon Issa, and I am a realtor with Gap Realty and also a project manager for HP Investments. So we're here tonight so that we can share with you the program that we have been working on hand in hand with the city, our tax foreclosure program to renovate the properties. We have the first slide up? Yeah. Okay. So HP SNAP has been working with cities since 2008 to help revitalize neighborhoods and renovate properties, increase homeownership, things like that. And we just obtained some properties with the city of Lincoln Park to be able to begin that relationship there. Our objectives are to increase homeownership and increase property value. We'd like to update and revitalize old properties to bring them up to city code and standard. We want to stabilize neighborhoods. We believe that with us doing some of these renovations, it creates kind of a domino effect, and the other neighbors feel the need and the desire to follow suit and do some renovations as well, which brings property values up for everyone, and also to bring new families to Lincoln Park and owner occupants. So those are the objectives that we have. And then next slide, please. So as of November, we obtained a total of 21 properties from the city. 20 of them were residential, 1 was commercial. And from November until now, through the winter months, and I'm sure you can understand how difficult that can be through winter to do some renovations, we were able to complete 6 properties and 3 of them we've already sold. We currently have another 6 under renovation, and they're coming along very nicely. We intend to complete the rest of the remaining properties within the next 12 months. Because of us being in the spring and summer months, though, and not having the disadvantage of winter, we probably will be able to do that sooner rather than later. And then next slide, please. So what sets us apart from every other investor everywhere that wants to pick up a bunch of properties is we don't want to just do the industry standard. We don't just want to go in and do the basics and make money. Our goal is to stabilize and revitalize the neighborhood and create homes for homeowners, not just renovate houses. So with that in mind, we use energy efficient products. We use upgraded products rather than just standard. And we really try to create a home rather than just renovate the house. Each property has its own personality, so to speak. So we play off of that and try to make it a home for the prospective buyer. We use granite countertops, glass tile backsplashes, keeping in mind energy efficiency to keep the homeowner's utilities low. We have wireless thermostats. We do ceramic tile flooring, also high efficiency toilets, LED fixtures, and then where necessary, new roof, new windows, new doors, new driveway. So we pay attention to detail, and that's what's important to us and what sets us apart from every other investor. If I could take all of you through the properties, I would love to. I know Matt was able to walk through some of them with us, and I invite each and any one of you to contact us and walk through to see the progress and what we've been doing. But in the meantime, there's a video for you to look at to be able to see a little bit about what we do. Oh, is it not coming up? So these are before pictures and after. Good. Yeah. It's not buzzing. So hopefully from the video, you can see a little bit about what our ideas are of renovating these houses and making them homes. In line with our objectives, we did calculations on the houses, the homes that we did close on and sell, the 3 of the 6 that we've completed. And the property value increase on this particular property was 23.4%. The next property was 15%. And the final property was 19%. So we are, in line with our goals, and we fully intend to continue to strive to do better and maximize value for the residents, the city, and we are growing as a company. We have added resources, we've added systems, and we are continuing to work and better ourselves so that we can do better for the cities that we partner with and work with. We don't intend on slowing down or stopping anytime soon. So we greatly appreciate the opportunity to work with you, and we appreciate the folks at the building department that worked with us as our first time, kind of working out kinks and getting to know the way that we operate and the way that you want us to operate. We appreciate you, Mr. Mayor, and the city manager, and all of you council members. We appreciate the opportunity very much. So we intend to continue working with you, as well as the residents and homeowners in Lincoln Park, to bring more homes and more homeowners to the city. So if anybody has any questions or comments.
Shannon, does city manager has your contact information if we want?
He does not, but I will make sure that you have it before we leave.
Okay, Council President.
I don't really have a question for you. It's just that I want to congratulate you on the work you're doing.
Thank you.
I know that before your company started working with the city, we were at the mercy of God knows how many flippers that came in,
Yeah.
slapped a coat of paint on a building, maybe put a little plastic in it, and didn't really do anything to increase the value.
Right.
And I'm really happy to see that you're moving on, bringing everything up to code and making
Thank
it,
you.
enhancing the whole neighborhood. It
Thank
really
you.
makes a difference for our city, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
The one commercial property, where is that?
It is located on Southfield Road. We're currently marketing it. It hasn't sold yet, but we're looking for potentially like a doctor's office, or it's some sort of office setup. So we're marketing it right now.
Okay. Do you know the
The
address?
address is 1088.
1800 1088.
1088.
Yes.
Okay. And the 20 houses that you bought, did you target like a certain neighborhood, or did you spread them out?
No, we were open to all areas. We have properties that span from the border right near, Outer Drive, all the way as far as border of Wyandotte near River Drive. So we, left it completely open.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
And company of doing that. That is all that I have under, or did you want to do, that's later on in the meeting you're talking about. Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Resolved that the following items listed in the consent agenda be approved as presented to the mayor and city council. 1, approved minutes, regular meeting held March 5, 2018. 2, approved minutes, study session held March 5, 2018, RE Museum funding. 3, approved minutes, study session held March 12, 2018, relative DUA. And 4, approved sub-recipient agreement, Senior Alliance.
So move, Your Honor.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Murphy?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Jarzynski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
And Mayor Kearns.
Yes. For you. All right. 3 appointments having to do with the Community Improvement Commission, which we've had 2 resignations recently. So first, resolve that Leslie Daunter, 1548 Winchester, Lincoln Park, Michigan, 48146, is hereby appointed to fill the expired term, or the unexpired term, of Nancy Porter on the Community Improvement Commission, with a term set to expire May 1, 2020.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Darzinski.
Yes.
Higgins.
Yes.
Mayor Kurtz.
Yes. Resolved that Annette DiMaggio, 3109 Elliott, Lincoln Park, Michigan, 48146, is appointed to the Community Improvement Commission with a term set to expire May 1, 2019.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey,
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Darzinski.
Yes.
Higgins.
Yes.
Mayor Kurtz.
Yes. And then lastly, resolved that Candy Poe, 1781 Stewart, Lincoln Park, Michigan, 48146, is appointed to the Community Improvement Commission with a term set to expire May 1, 2019.
So moved. Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
Darzinski.
Yes.
Higgins.
Yes.
Mayor Kurtz.
Yes. Now we will call to order a public hearing regarding the proposed 5-year Parks and Rec Master Plan. And we'll call on Doreen Christian, Parks and Recreation Director, for a report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Actually, we're going to have a presentation again by Bob Ford. He is with LAP Inc., who is the one who put together the 5-year plan, the company that we hired, and he'll be going over a few more key points of it.
Being me.
Where's it at?
Going the equator. 1927.
The year of your birth?
Good evening, council members. It seems like I was only here last week, or last month, which I was. And we talked a little bit about the 5-year recreation plan that is due April 1 of this year. And that'll qualify you for state grants for Michigan. They do require that you have, yep, it's in that file. And then it'd be the first, no, yep. Should come up.
Keep talking.
And it should qualify you for state funding. So any project that you have, you can put in for a grant, April 1 of 2018. The 3 grant funding sources that are available are the Trust Fund, the Land and Water Conservation Fund, and the Recreation Passport Grant. For the Trust Fund and the Recreation Passport Grant, you can leverage 25% and gain 75% funding. If the Land and Water, you can gain 50 and 50%, so a 50% match. So the purpose of recreation planning is twofold. Thank you, Matt. Is twofold. One is to re-examine your community in terms of the recreation pursuits, and also reach out to the public in order to gain some input and have people join in the process, which we did. Here we have a map of all the parks in your system. We did go to each park, and we did do an inventory for each of those parks. We have an understanding of what deficiencies are there, and we made recommendations in the report for correction of those deficiencies. We did look at your previous goals from 2013 through 17. And those goals did resonate with the residents because some of these goals and some of these objectives are carried forward into the future. One of the projects that you are almost finished with and will carry forward is the renovation of the band shell, and I think that that has resonated quite nicely with a variety of community members because it's getting a fair amount of use. Potential projects include just a variety of things. I sort of picked a few to share with you. The youth center park, they're wanting a splash pad to be developed there so children can recreate in the summer months and get wet without being in a pool environment. The recreation lands, if you have properties that you want to acquire, the funding for that is through the recreation grants as well. One of the projects that was brought up through the DDA in cooperation with the DDA is Mellis Park and the potential development of that park. This would be a recreational shelter where people can come and join in festivities of various kind. It would be a central park in your downtown. Non-motorized trails and pathways scored very high in the survey that we did as well, and many people were encouraged by this and wanted it to continue. One of the projects that was initiated through this process was taking the Electric Avenue Greenway, turning that into a pathway, and then following the chain of parks along the Ecorse Creek, and eventually joining that with the Downriver Delta Greenways plan, which was developed in 2008. Here's an example of this slide of the Electric Avenue. Some people are not familiar with it. And here's a concept drawing that kind of shows how this could be developed. And it would allow neighbors, it goes right through the heart of the neighborhood. It would allow people to gain access to the trail in a variety of locations. And as always in most plans, a maintained and well-balanced park system raises property values, increases quality of life. You did fairly well in that regard on the public opinion survey as well. So the public process included a input survey, and that survey received 285 responses. Those responses, coupled with the other outreach programs that we did, which included a variety of meetings. We had meetings dating October 10th, 11th, 12th, and the first in January as well. Those 4 meetings, one of those was a public meeting, the other, all of them were public meetings. One was specifically for the 5-year plan. The other 3 were held at the Park and Recreation Commission and were examined during that meeting. We also did stakeholder interviews where we contacted organizations throughout your community and asked for their input as well. And then finally, we have 2 public hearings, one which was last month on the 20th of March and tonight, the 19th of March. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And go ahead.
You talked about development, possibly a Mellis Park in the DDA area. Would they be eligible to take part in that, or do the funds have to come strictly from the city?
They would be allowed to participate in that as long as the property is in the DDA district, which it is. And if it's designated a park, then it would qualify for the recreation funds, so they could participate in that with the city. And however that money flows from them to you to leverage the grant, that's a possibility, or a combination.
Okay, thanks. I thought that would be a good thing for us to work on together.
Anything further?
And with that, maybe the
Well,
public wants to ask
Yeah.
a question.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to be heard on the 5-year Parks and Recreation Master Plan?
Just a question, would the Wayne County Park,
Please, for the folks at home, we need you to come up to the microphone.
thank you, Ilana Varga, Wayne County Commissioner in Lincoln Park here. My question is, would we be able to use the Wayne County Parks monies that we get from our mills with this particular project? any of the city projects from the state of Michigan in the matching funds.
Typically, those funds, if they're collected through a millage through the county, go to the county. And if you want to request from the county some sort of cost sharing or system, I think that you're more than willing and able to do that.
We get it.
So if that money comes back to the city directly, then you are able to allocate those funds however the council chooses.
To match it? That's my question.
Okay. Anything else from the public? Other than hearing none, then we will adjourn our public hearing and reconvene the regular meeting. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your presentation. So we'll see you the first week of April?
No. We're looking for a resolution at some point here tonight
Oh, I understand.
to adopt the plan.
Alrighty. And speaking of which, our first action item has a cover letter from Doreen Christian, the Director of the Office of Community Planning and Development. And it is the recommendation for the Parks and Recreation 5-year master plan. So we'll just move into the resolution. Whereas the development of adequate parks and recreation resources require a plan of action based on a combination of expert advice, community input, analysis of the needs and desires of the population, and the opportunity to budget necessary funding and apply for available grants. And whereas the Parks and Recreation Commission for the City of Lincoln Park is responsible for the development and maintenance of recreational facilities and activities in the city. And whereas the Parks and Recreation Commission has directed the development of this update to the City of Lincoln Park's 5-year Parks and Recreation Plan, which includes all of the elements cited above. And whereas the plan update was developed with citizen input through public meetings held by the Parks and Recreation Commission, one public input meeting held November 27, 2017, and a public hearing held by the City Council on February 20, 2018, and March 19, 2018. And whereas this plan meets the requirements of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, thereby making the City of Lincoln Park eligible for state and federal recreation grant funding administered by the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. And whereas the Parks and Recreation Commission has determined that it appropriately addresses the recreation needs of the community and has approved the plans, and whereas the City Council for the City of Lincoln Park has reviewed the plan and determined that it appropriately addresses the recreation needs of the community. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council for the City of Lincoln Park does hereby adopt the City of Lincoln Park's Park and Recreation Plan 2018-2022.
So move.
I'm sorry, who?
Support.
All right, discussion? Then clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Murphy?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Garzinski?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yeah, the
Yes.
master plan.
Master plan. Yes, you may.
Master, okay.
And thank you for everyone that was involved in getting this done, as it is a lot of work, but it's much appreciated. So in background, we have another cover letter from Doreen Christian, Director of Community Planning and Development, Parks and Recreation. Public hearing was held on February 5 to hear requests on the 44th CDBG budget and receive public comment. The Community Improvement Commission held a meeting on February 18, 2018, reviewed the requests and made their recommendations. These recommendations were forwarded to the Mayor and Council for their consideration. We have not received notification from HUD on our allocation for fiscal year 2018-19. To meet the HUD deadline for citizens' comment period and submission to HUD, a budget needs to be passed now. If there be a decrease or increase of the expected funding, the streets utility and administration portion of the budget will change to reflect that amount. Resolved that the following proposed budget is hereby adopted for the 44th program year of the Community Development Block Grant Program beginning July 1, 2018. Administration and Planning, $142,336. In Public Services, Community Policing, $50,000. Crime Awareness Program, $15,000. First Step Domestic Violence, $10,000. The Guidance Center, $3,000. The Senior Alliance, $3,201. Senior Center Staffing, $17,000. In Infrastructure Projects, Demolition of Dangerous Buildings at $30,000. Residential Rehab at $50,000, which has an asterisk next to it. Sewer Lead Rehab and Replacement, $120,000. Streets and Utilities, $271,143 for a total of $711,680. The asterisks had plus projected rehab revolving fund income of $40,000. Be it further resolved that any changes in the projected HUD allocation will be reflected in the Streets and Utilities Administration portion of the budget if decreased or increased.
So moved. Support.
Okay, discussion?
I have a question, Your Honor.
Yes.
I'm good with the budget the way it's set out right now, but I asked a question at the last meeting regarding taking some of the funding and supporting our historical commission that was up there, and they're in trouble right now. What did you find out on that?
So, and Doreen, wherever you're at here, can help with this, but I have had conversations with Doreen, who's looked into this. There is an issue with us being able to do that, and I'll let you deliver that news.
Thank you. I love delivering bad news for people. The way the HUD funding runs, number one, this was not brought up during the course of a public hearing where people could have voted on it for this year. Number two, we are not allowed to fund anything that is normally paid for under the regular general government fund. If we do that, we are violating what HUD is saying we can use it for. And number three, we are not meeting one of the three national objectives. We have to be able to say that we are helping out the low, moderate income families. That's the number one priority that they're looking for us to take care of. And it's not, I can't get it to meet any national objective that we have to meet to be able to fund it. I'm sorry to say. I did look into it. I researched it as much as I possibly could, trying to find the funding for it, but I couldn't squeak it through because I can't give it a national objective.
If I could follow up, Doreen. Looking at some of the things they talked about at our last meeting, neighborhood improvement would be part of that. They were talking about improving the building itself. Is there no money we could?
Because it's not a residential building. Commercial buildings should be handled under the EDC or DDA.
I think, so when we talked about this was strictly asking about the operational piece. As it relates to a building and facility, public facility, I think we'd have to look at that a little bit differently. 'Cause, I mean, it would be project specific. So, for instance, like putting a roof on, you'd have to look at it in context of what the project is and see if it fits within that.
Well, the reason I ask is we know that's coming. We know that the roof has to be repaired
Now,
down the road.
if we can figure it out and put it into next year's budget, that would be the best way to do it because everything would be done above board the way HUD likes to see everything in black and white laid out on the table in front of everybody and not brought in after the fact. The only other way would do it was with an amendment of the plan, and then that would cause us to waylay our money even later to amend what we're going to be putting out there. But I can double check to make sure that I could do something like that, but I still have to be able to meet a national objective.
I'd like you to do that. I mean,
I'll check into
the
it
end
when I come
result
back.
of us being able to take care of that kind of a billing that we know is coming up would definitely save them some heartache. And
Right, I've got to see what area it's considered located in, the census tract, and then I've also got to see how it's going to meet one of the national objectives. And that's going to be our major thing, is to meet a national objective because there's only three. And it's got to fit into one of those, I can't take the square peg and put it in a round hole. I can shave it off a little bit and try to make it fit, and I will look at that more closely.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, I concur with the council president on that aspect of it. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. Next item also has a cover letter from Doreen Christian. And to enter into a contract with GV Cement Contracting Company to do the Electric Avenue Russell intersection improvement. So we will move to resolve that GV Cement Contracting Company be awarded the bid for the 2016 CDBG Electric Avenue intersection improvement at Russell in the amount of $114,694, as they are the lowest, best bidder that meets all specifications. A 10% retention of the project cost shall be held to verify completion pursuant to the contract. Be it further resolved that the mayor and city clerk are authorized to execute documents necessary to accomplish this work. Funds to come from account number 24943-75519, Streets and Utilities.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Question through the chair for
Yes, sir.
Ryan. This is gonna, in the contract, this is gonna have the start and due dates and all that kind of, like we've been putting in, and everything is in there the way it's supposed to for the, you know, the oversight and all that stuff. And like,
Yes, every project that's going out of our office now has a start and end date that the contractor must meet, or there are penalties that are assigned, depending on the size of the project. The penalties are assessed based on the size of the project, so the larger the project, the larger the penalty is per day over that due date, if you will.
okay, and then you guys will be obviously overseeing it, am I correct?
Correct, yes, and we'll be providing full-time construction observation on those jobs, so we'll have that noted, yes. Yep.
All right. And yeah, last question, I know is due to the weather, but this is due to start when the weather gets to be where it's eligible to be started, I guess, is what I'm saying, right?
Right, obviously, we can't start now
Right,
because of the,
right.
because of the weather, it's too
I mean, as
cold
soon
for
as the weather
concrete.
is nice, it won't
Right.
be delayed, so this project can get up and started and finished on a, you know, get going.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, yes.
Thank you.
And Noreen, this is from the 2016 CDBG?
Yes.
Current year. What says 16 on the resolution?
This was actually part of the current year, so 17-18.
It's 17-18 money, but we actually went out with
Microphone,
this.
please.
Oh, sorry. It's 17-18 money, but we actually did it last year, but we didn't have the funding to cover all three intersections like we wished.
Okay.
We had Monty, and the other one was
O'Connor.
O'Connor. And we did those two, and we kept this one for this year.
There were 7 bids that were received on this. GV Cement at $114,694. Dominic Gaglio Construction, $119,211. L. Anthony Construction, $125,968. Lacaria Concrete, $137,654. Zeniga Cement Construction, $138,295. JB Contractors at $138,690, and Great Lakes Contracting at $150,642.50. Okay, we have movers, supporters. So is there further discussion on this? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. Again, we have Doreen Christian, and this is toward the bid to demolish 2 properties. Properties of 1378 Hanford, 2121 Olive. The bids received were RJ&J Enterprises at $14,987.50. International Construction at $17,350. McMillan Group at $20,100. Falcon Demolition at $23,752. Superior Wrecking Incorporated at $24,500. Universal Consolidated Enterprises at $24,900. Signature Services at $31,858, sorry. Blue Star Incorporated, $39,050, and S.A. Torella Incorporated, $39,240. Resolved that RJ&J Enterprise Incorporated be awarded the bid for the demolition of structures located at 1378 Hanford and 2121 Olive for a cost not to exceed $14,987.50, as they are the lowest bidder that meets all city specifications. Fund to come from CDBG budget account number 249040-75521. Be it further resolved that mayor and city clerk are authorized to sign all necessary documents.
So move. Support. Yeah.
Okay.
Either one.
Discussion?
Make a difference.
Okay, hearing none. Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Parton?
Yes. Next item has a cover letter from Chief Waters. Lincoln Park Police Department is requesting permission for Sergeant Scott Lavis and Sergeant Jeffrey Mueller to attend the Michigan Police Executive Development Seminar. The Michigan Police Executive Development Seminar, or MPEDS for short, is sponsored by the FBI and the Michigan chapter of the FBI National Academy Associates. This program is designed to provide law enforcement executives the opportunity for advanced leadership training. Seminar examines problems faced within the law enforcement community and offers solutions to make each officer a better executive. Right. Then resolve that mayor and council authorize Sergeant Joe Lavis and Sergeant Jeffrey Mueller to Scott Lavis. Well, let's send Joe too. We'll do this again. Resolve that mayor and council authorize Sergeant Scott Lavis and Sergeant Jeffrey Mueller to attend the Michigan Police Executive Development Seminar being offered at the Garland Lodge in Lewiston, Michigan on Monday, September 17, 2018 through Friday, September 21, 2018. The cost of the school is $1,990, which includes lodging, meals, and training materials. A police department vehicle will be used, and the city travel policy will be followed. Be it further resolved, the funds to come from the police department's MCOLS training account 101-000-370PT.
So move. Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilpersons Higgins?
Yay.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Parton?
Yes. Next item also has a cover letter from Chief Waters. I can get my fingers to work. The Lincoln Park Police Department is requesting permission for Detective John Stearns to attend the FBI Advanced Sniper Observer School / Observer School. The focus of this school is on instructor development. Each student will be able to understand terminal ballistics in relations to human physiology and the effects of a high-speed bullet impact to different parts of the human anatomy. At the conclusion of the school, each student will have the necessary skills to successfully function as a sniper / observer according to FBI standards. The FBI Advanced Sniper class is from May 21st to May 25 and will be held at Fort Custer Training Center in Augusta, Michigan. Okay. I resolve that mayor and council authorize Detective John Stearns to attend the FBI Advanced Observation Sniper School being offered at the Detroit FBI SWAT and the Michigan chapter of the offered by the Detroit FBI SWAT and the Michigan chapter of the FBI NAA at the Fort Custer Training Center in Augusta, Michigan, beginning Monday, May 21st, 2018 through Friday, May 25, 2018. The cost of the school is $650 and includes all meals, lodging, range fees, and training materials. a police department vehicle will be used. Be it further resolved, funds to come from police department's forfeiture training account 265-320-960.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Condon? Mayor Condon?
Yes, sorry. This next item has a cover letter from our city manager, Mr. Koppler. Last fall, the city of Lincoln Park submitted funding requests to the state treasury's financially distressed cities, villages, and townships grant program for a number of projects. On March 12, 2018, the Department of Treasury notified the city that one proposal was awarded grant funding. That project is the purchase of a new fire engine for the fire department. The city requested a total of $600,000 for the purchase of the engine. Treasury's grant will cover 70% of the engine if it were to cost $600,000. I am hopeful that the proper preparation specifications and a good environment, we will be able to trim the final cost of the impact of the city will be much less than the proposed $180,000. Money is available with the Fleet Management Fund to cover the city's share of that cost. So whereas the State of Michigan Department of Treasury has given preliminary notice of its intent to award a financially distressed cities, villages, and townships grant in the amount of up to $420,000 towards reimbursement of expenditures required for the Lincoln Park engine replacement. And whereas the state of Michigan requires each municipality's governing body to adopt a resolution authorizing participation in the proposed project prior to finalizing the award of grants from the state of Michigan's FDCVT grant program. And whereas the city of Lincoln Park acknowledges that it, one, has filed its annual financial report, F-65, or audit per the Uniform Budgeting and Accounting Act or the Uniform System of Accounting Act. 2, has filed its financial plan, in parentheses, deficit elimination plan, per the Glenn Steele State Revenue Sharing Act as applicable. 3, it is not delinquent in making payments that are due on loans issued pursuant to the Emergency Municipal Loan Act. And 4, does not have a payment due and owing to the state, and thus is eligible to participate in a FDCVT grant-funded project. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council hereby authorize participation in the Lincoln Park fire engine replacement, and on behalf of the city of Lincoln Park authorizes Mayor Thomas C. Carnes to provide this resolution indicating its approval to the state of Michigan and to submit and execute documents requested by the state of Michigan relating to the FDCVT requirements.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
2 questions I want to make through the chair.
Yes, sir.
What are we going to get out of the old engine? Any idea? I mean, as far, because obviously we won't need it.
No idea at this point.
Okay.
Because we're probably talking a year and a half to 2 years down the road.
Okay, I'm just curious if we have a game plan to get some money out of it, obviously.
Yeah, and just the one that we're going to be replacing, so this one would be the front line engine. The one that's the front line engine right now would be put down into the reserve, and the reserve would be worked out. Yeah.
Okay. Next question I had, if I remember, we got the ladder truck, we got it, and there was some extra stuff that we had to have. Is that built into this, or like, you know, the tablet, some other stuff that became notice that we needed for the engine besides what we paid for is what I'm getting at. Is that being discussed, or is there a process?
Yes, there is a discussion in that. You know, obviously we're looking to try to reduce the overall cost. So there's going to be things probably we would have bought with this engine had we gotten the full 600,000 that we may not be buying now. So we'll be utilizing either older equipment or buying that in subsequent budget years.
All right, thank you.
Further discussion? All right, clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Higgins?
Yay.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Condon?
Yes. Next item also has a cover letter from our city manager. As mayor and council are aware, the 13 communities that comprise the Downriver Utility Wastewater Authority, or DUA, are attempting to purchase the Downriver Sanitary Disposal System from Wayne County. This process started back in 2015, has reached the point that a successful definite transfer agreement, DTA, has been negotiated and now must be approved by the member communities. DUA is asking member communities to consider approval of this agreement and decide if they support the transfer before April 30, 2018. The elements of the transfer are DUA would pay $57.5 million to Wayne County for the assets of the Downriver Sanitary Disposal System. County is selling the system as is. County transaction costs are capped at $1.5 million. The deal can be terminated before closing due to default by Wayne County on the preconditions, if financing is not acceptable to the authority, failure to get the required 66% of the weighted votes of the community, or if acceptable title insurance is not acquired. The benefits touted by proponents of this acquisition are the member communities would have more control of the operations of the system. The system would have rate stability with member communities controlling the budget. The facility would be efficiently operated by experienced third-party operators. The most recent project schedule indicates if approved by the communities, the DTA would be presented to Wayne County for their approval in June, and if approved by the commission, would be finalized in July with the closing sometime in August or September of this year. So we have, whereas 1955 Public Act 233 as amended, in parentheses, Act 233 authorizes an authority to acquire sewage disposal systems as defined within said act and to improve, enlarge, expand, and operate such systems. Whereas by terms of Act 233, the Downriver Utility Wastewater Authority, or DUA, its constituent communities, municipalities, being the cities of Belleville, Ecorse, Lincoln Park, River Rouge, Southgate, Wyandotte, Allen Park, Taylor, Dearborn Heights, Romulus, Riverview, and the charter townships of Van Buren and Brownstown communities are authorized to enter into a contract for the acquisition, improvement, enlargement, or extension of a sewage disposal system and for the payment of the cost thereof by the communities with interest. And whereas the DUA desires to acquire the Downriver Sanitary Disposal System from the County of Wayne, a Michigan County corporation, and whereas each of the communities have a representative on the DUA board, which will vote May 10, 2018, on the definitive transfer agreement with Wayne County for the acquisition of the system. And whereas each of the communities in 2017 have unanimously approved a service agreement with DUA for the use and charges associated with the system. And now therefore be it resolved that the City of Lincoln Park hereby agrees that the municipality's member to the DUA board shall vote in favor of the definitive transfer agreement that has been negotiated with Wayne County for the purchase of the Downriver Sanitary Disposal System.
We ready?
I'll move on this.
Support, support.
Discussion.
Through the chair, I got a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
In Sunday's News Herald, it brought up that the city of Wyandotte owes the county $4.8 million because they haven't paid since August of 2015. They put it in an escrow account. And Riverview owes $1.35 million since July of 2015. So I called Mrs. Varga, who's our Wayne County Commissioner, and she explained to me that if this doesn't transfer, then this money owed to the county will transfer basically over to the DUA. So that will be the money that's owed that they haven't paid since then to be put into the pot, so to speak. So I just want to make that clear that there's some communities that haven't been paying, but according to the News Herald and talking to Mrs. Varga, that it will be done and it will be part of the DUA agreement as far as when if and when the communities absorb it, so to speak. Or I should say transfer is a nice word to say. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Further discussion?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
One component that has not been brought up as far as the financials, only during the study session, and I'll talk more about this later. But there is a reserve fund, which is broken down into several components that the DUA will be taking over, and that is $38 million. It should be noted that about $3 million of that will have to go for almost immediate capital improvements. But with the purchase of this, we are getting a $38 million reserve fund broken down into several financial components.
Yes, sir. Is there further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Clerk call the roll.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes.
Councilperson Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Kelsey?
Yes.
Murphy?
No.
Okay. Next item that we have, we're going to the miscellaneous item, right?
Yep.
Has a cover letter from John Kazoo, who is our Department of Public Services Director. The Department of Public Services, along with Hennessy Engineers Incorporated, have located 5 locations that are in need of expedited sewer lining. So we will go to, whereas Hennessy Engineers Incorporated is the city's current engineering contractor. Be it resolved that the mayor and city council authorize Hennessy Engineers Incorporated to solicit bids for the lining of 5 sewers in the city of Lincoln Park.
So moved. Support.
Discussion?
Yes, can I ask, so citizens can know where these 5 places are?
The 5 locations would be one that's under the Ecorse Creek, just west of Dix Highway by the CM Bar. We had a recent sewer collapse there that was repaired, but we would like to line that. We don't want to have another collapse within the vicinity of that creek. The other 4 are, there's Detroit Street near Bailey Street, the alley on the west side of Fort Street off of Warwick Street, in the easement between White and Garfield Streets between Wilson and Washington, and in the alley on the east side of Dix between O'Connor and Euclid. Either we found that these lines were in poor structural shape, or there's a lot of infiltration or inflow coming in through the pipe joints. And these 5 lines do need immediate attention.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
That one is the one where we had the massive water leak in the, or not water leak, we were sucking water in from the creek.
Correct.
It's included the one over by Dixon, in Moran, I think it is, or Goddard. That's one that we necessitated doing that one because we replaced it, but it still didn't fix the pipe was in poor shape.
We
to make
replaced
sure
the
it's-
portion that collapsed,
Right.
but looking at the pipe further down, it's cracked all the way through, yes. So
Thank you,
we
Your
don't
Honor.
want to see another collapse underneath the creek.
No, no.
Need any more waterfalls?
Right.
Further discussion?
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
the one in the alley west of Fort Street by Warwick, there was like a little sinkhole that opened up there, and there was a lot of cones there. Is that the area you're talking about, next to that dentist office?
It is, yeah. Okay, I know there's been water main breaks in that area too, but yes, that would be for the
That's the
sewer.
area.
Yes.
Right behind Albert's Furniture. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Anything further? Clerk call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. All right. And lastly, resolve that accounts and claims payable for those items greater than $25,000 be approved as follows. DTE Energy Streetlights, February 2018, $44,822.68. GFL Environmental USA, curbside waste removal, March 2018, $109,382.02. Great Lakes Water Authority, water, January 2018, $202,961.20. Huntington National Bank, annual 2010 LTGO debt payment, $198,834.39. MI Finance Authority, annual SRF loan payment at $57,901.34. Wayne County Downriver Sewage Disposal System interest and principal due, $350,888.96. Hennessy Engineers Incorporated, various city projects through February 22nd, 2018, $104,985.55. McKenna, December 2017 / January 2018 payment, $69,609.75.
So moved.
Support. Discussion?
Yes, I got a question on the last item, the McKenna payment. I know we had some problems when they started up, and I just wondered if we've resolved those. We're paying them almost $70,000, and I don't want to get in the same boat as Safe Built, where after the fact we decide that there's a problem. We're already having similar issues that are coming to the head. I'm just wondering if they're working through it, and because, you know, obviously we're paying them $70,000. Are they doing what they're supposed to by the contract to make sure that those issues that should have been taken care of before they took over, or when they took over, are being taken care of, I guess?
Yeah, I think,
Long
you
story
know,
short.
we are working with them. We're meeting on a regular basis with them in terms of some of the deficiencies we've identified. Again, I would not evoke the name of the previous company as, you know, that's where we're heading. I think, you know, we've done a number of things with, you know, your approval in terms of bringing on a representative of the city to kind of oversee all this, which I think makes a dramatic impact. So we're catching a lot of the issues a lot sooner than what we were doing when we didn't have that city employee there. So at this point, I'm comfortable with where we're at. I mean, it's not where we want to be at, but, you know, we're getting there.
That was a question I had. I mean, I don't want to go down that road without raising the issue before we start down that road. The last issue I got is that the lease towing bills for the auction were like $14,855. Could you explain what those were? I mean, to the towing company that we use, City Towing? What that includes, I guess? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Chief of Police Ray Waters
Okay.
who was intimate with these things.
So those fees are the tow truck, the tow drivers when they go out and tow the vehicles. They don't get paid until the auction, so that's the fee that they get paid. So the actual fee, when the auction's all said and done, we're paid a little bit more than that $14,000. That's just their share for what the work they've done.
Okay, so that's basically the proceeds for the vehicles that we...
That were towed.
That were towed.
So if someone's arrested on the street,
Right.
their car's towed, we're paying them for that service.
Okay. All right. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
that's all that is.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Anything further? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilperson Kelsey?
Yes.
Darzinski?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Murphy?
Yes.
Mayor Carnes?
Yes. We have reached the time that it is for our city manager's report. So, Mr. Koppler.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Please bear with me. I have a lot to go through.
Got 5 minutes.
Okay, where to start? Actually, first, through a resolution, I was authorized to bring forward to Mayor and Council a perspective of what, if we did charge a lease to the courts, what that would be. And I want to say, actually, while we were sitting here earlier, I got another piece of information. After I put this together, I've been refining it. I just refined it once more, so I'm going to give you some new numbers all of a sudden. Unfortunately, I don't have the computer here with me. But up in the big box where it says lease per month, annual lease, those numbers are going to change to the lease per month to $2,579, and then the annual lease comes out to $30,948. So those are the main numbers we need to be concerned with. I want to kind of give you an understanding of how, you know, we decided to put this together. There's a number of different ways to try to figure out what an acceptable lease amount would be. You know, if we look at from a market perspective and looking within the city to comparable buildings, this is probably at best a Class B facility in terms of rental space, probably at the lower end of that. And, you know, that could be anywhere as low as probably about 48 cents per square foot per month up to over $1. Again, you know, just depends upon the facility. I didn't go into this with the thought that we're trying to make money. You know, what the auditors said is we should be recovering what our costs are for ownership of the building. We already pass on to the courts the cost for projects that happen. You know, if there's a replacement that needs to happen, we we're probably more likely farming that out, and so they would be charged whatever the contractor's cost would be. If we're buying a piece of equipment, they would be charged whatever that is. But there are two areas that we are not receiving reimbursement for what our costs are. And those two there, if you go under city cost of ownership, you would go under the next line. It says total building, skip that one for now. Labor costs assigned. So we have effectively 1.5 employees that will be doing the work on our different buildings. Excuse me. And their total cost is approximately $94,000 per year. Based upon $94,000, and let me just say this is like a really low number, and it's not one of those things where you look at it and say that we're doing great because we have a low number here. It's just because we don't have a lot of money that this number is that low. But that works out based upon the 81,000 as a dollar, shouldn't 81,000 square feet of building that we own. That comes out to $1.16 per square foot. Tell you that, you know, generally you should be in the $3 to $4 a square foot for labor force for maintaining buildings, but it is what it is. The other cost is building insurance, and that was actually a number that I just got, and it actually is about $67,000 and not $130,000. So it works out to 81 cents per square foot of the 81,000 plus square footage, so 81. So the total square footage cost broken down per square foot per year is $2.32. That comes out to, on a monthly basis, per square foot of 19.3 cents. So that's, when you do the calculations, that's how we get the 2,579 and multiply it by 12, and it gets us 30,000. So this was put together from the standpoint of trying to be very defensible, that nobody can argue what the costs are. Again, I stayed away from value of the building. You can see the only appraisal that I found for that building was something that our insurance company had done a number of years ago. I'm not sure exactly when it was done, but it was appraised for approximately $2.5 million. Understand, and as you go down below that big box where it talks, you know, has Lincoln Park, River Rouge, and E-Course, the city of Lincoln Park makes up 60% of the court. So we fund 60% of the court. So of that $30,948 that we'd be charging, we're going to pay $18,568. River Rouge makes up 22% of the court funding, so they would pay approximately $6,808. And excuse me, E-Course makes up 18% of the funding, and they would be providing approximately $5,570. So this, I think, is a defensible amount. If you want us to figure out how or move forward with this, I think this is the best defensible position. It's going to have an impact in the budget on the overall court costs that we pay, but we're going to be seeing a revenue of $30,000 to offset that. So effectively, we're going to make we're going to recover our costs of about $12,000.
I got a question for you. Actually, a couple questions, but one of the first questions is that it seems like the cost, I mean, the courts in River Rouge and E-Course were more than $8,000 to run a year, I'm pretty sure, with the maintenance and the cost of the court officer and all that. So, I mean, when they come over here, they're crowded into our existing building because it wasn't made that way when they built it. So I'm sure we had to do some additions or do something over there and all that stuff. Plus the labor cost, we're still paying the current labor cost rate per the union contracts. I mean, that's how we bill out. I mean, that's how we should be billing out anyways. And I'm sure that's more than the 94th, like you say, it's on the low side. So my concern is, based on all that I just said, is then how come the plant in Moran keeps saying every year when they do the audit that we're not charging something? I mean, they must have the same figures that we are. I should say they have the same interpretation of what would cost to run that court, this court here, based upon all three being jammed into one area and so on and so forth. And it seems like the figures are, I mean, I'm not disputing them, but they're kind of low compared to the fact that everybody's over there, and yet every time we turn around, we're sending our people over there for a water leak, or the roof has to be fixed, or the air conditioning system goes out and all that stuff. And we're eating the billable hours. I mean, for the manpower, I don't know how the cost of the actual material gets charged. But I mean, somewhere along the line, it looks like there is somebody underpaying the court costs, because basically we're taking all the liabilities and all the different people from Rouge and Ecorse into our same building. I mean, something don't look right someplace. I mean, if I'm doing business like that, I should be able to charge a certain fee and still not make money, but break even and have money in reserve for fixing the roof and fixing the air, and not take it out of the general budget.
Yeah,
And that's where I'm going with this.
Right, so we're already passing on those costs that we can clearly identify.
Okay.
The two things that were never passed on, and so again, we started doing that at the auditor's request that we should be doing that. So we started doing that actually, I think 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. We started on a limited basis. This year, I think we're capturing what all those costs are. What we haven't captured is that labor cost and the insurance cost.
The two figures on the 94,000.
Right, so the 94,000, that
67,000.
is the cost for 1.5 employees.
Right.
Full benefits,
Right.
Wages. So that is capturing that. Yes, there may be some small items that we're not capturing that may get spent over there, and I'm coming up off my top of my head. The problem we have is we don't necessarily capture time spent in a way that we could come up with that number. I mean, I thought about that, but, unless it's overtime, we're not saying in an employee's regular 8 hours that, they spent 2 hours here, an hour and a half over at the court, 2 hours over at City Hall. We don't capture that.
I don't understand that, because it's a billable. You got a department number or account number, and all you got to do is when you fill out your sheets in a day that Larry Kelsey went over to court for 4 hours today. Because if I'm over to court, I'm not patching holes in the street, and I'm not fixing another city building. And because the court is at capacity, we all know that. I mean, so you're going to have more problems, this and that. So I don't know why you couldn't just assign an account number and do a little bit of that, because that's the way any major corporation I dealt with did, is that we had 55 buildings, and you assign count numbers and you paid out of there, and that way you know what your cost was, and then you knew where your person was, because you'd say, for example, that 50% of the time they're over for this particular year, they're at the court, and this is the money we should charge, and so on and so forth. I mean, we can't do that, or we don't do that. I mean, we don't do it, but we can't do that.
Sitting here today, we can't do that.
Okay.
That is, ultimately what our goal is, to be able to do that type of cost accounting. We're not there today.
Well, I'd like to see us a little bit more, because when we're going to be buying a new court, you can't tell me these figures are going to apply to the new court. It's going to be way up for everybody. So, I mean, in the meantime, we're using this court, which we happen to own. So, in essence, they aren't paying the lease fee, because we own the building. I mean, that's the bottom line. We're not paying a lease fee. We're just paying the cost of the doing the repairs and the insurance on the building. We own it.
So yeah, today, because we own that building, that was the deal. It was structured between the city and the district court to provide these services. Tomorrow, whenever we get into that relationship with the new court, it may not look at all like this. I mean, first off, it's not going to be owned, at least the court facility will not be owned by the city of Lincoln Park. It's going to be owned by the 25th District. So, right off the bat, that changes the structure. We haven't even begun to talk about what the maintenance of that building is going to look like, because we haven't even got to the point where we're actually talking about, there's discussion about building a building, but, we haven't got to the point where we're actually moving forward with that. So, I recognize what you're saying. It's just we're not there yet to start talking about, well, who's going to maintain this. And get all those details worked out. It may be the city of Lincoln Park. They may have a third party maintain it, and that would be wrapped into the overall court costs that they'll be passing on to the three cities.
The reason I'm saying that is when this building is mothballed, we eat it. It don't go with the court. It's our building. I mean, so we're going to have to pay for that. What I'm getting at is that why would they have the tenants, is the old story, and why they're using the building, that we should at least charge a fair rate to get the money back. So, and we won't make a profit, but we can put it into the mothball fund, because sooner or later that place is going to be mothballed, and then we're going to be stuck with it. We got to do something with it, and it's going to take upkeep, and that money will help offset the fact that that building is now, for whatever reason, until we get somebody to be a tenant. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's not like we're gouging the other two cities. A cost factor, if you do their cost, it's a lot more money than what we're charging out of our building for them to come in whatever, how the court did it, to use our building, because it's paid for, okay, and we maintain it. So I'd like to see some kind of cost structure a little bit better than, I don't want to gouge them, but the same token, I don't want to be on the end squeezing the pennies at the end when everybody leaves and figuring out how to pay for something. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my take
Yeah,
on
and
it.
if I can, I mean, again, what
That's
I
all.
put together is a way to, figure out what that cost per square foot is going to be, in a defensible way that, I can show this. I mean, this is explainable. I think everybody would understand. I mean, if you wanted to charge more, that's, definitely mayor and council can say, we want, instead of 19.3 cents, we want 40 cents. But I guess, the problem is going to be, we're going to be making that number up at that point. I mean, there's no way other than saying, well, market value is X. But again, when you start raising expectations of what the market provides and what we're providing, that may look different to them as well, and they will demand more.
Well, how about the cost, just the cost of doing business? If the guy, I'd like to have us charge the time when he goes over and charge the material. I think that's fair. I don't think that's gouging anybody. And if the time goes up where it's less, when they get less, it just, they're not going to go from their current rate. $8,000 is a heck of a deal for having a full court with an officer and the system and the support troops and all that stuff.
All we're paying for is
I understand that, but
the
I'm
building.
saying that's why
That's being charged to us already.
I understand that, but they got to be in that building is what I'm saying. I mean, you have to have some kind of area for them to function, and the air conditioning's got to work, the heat's got to work. You got to have, an entrance. All I'm saying is it goes back to what Plant Moran said about the cost structure. That's all I'm saying. I'm just looking for something to get that, if you want to call it dig or ding off of the audit and still be fair enough to everybody and improve the structure is all I'm saying. That's all.
Well, just so you're aware, this will do that. I mean, they didn't say how much we had to recover. They just said recover our costs.
No, they didn't say. That's
And-
correct.
And again, I can't make up a number of what time we spent there.
Well, can I
We don't have it.
Hold on one second. Council President was next.
Thank you. I'm all done.
I want to kind of chime in where Councilman Kelsey's coming from. I don't know why we can't, we don't have a mortgage on that building right now because it's paid, but why can't we assume that we do have a mortgage and that we have a unit of people that come in there and repair it and whatnot, and take all those costs together and treat it like we did have a mortgage and then split that out between the three cities?
Well,
I have a simple answer for that.
Go ahead, sir.
This was an unfortunate shotgun marriage between the three communities caused by the Michigan Supreme Court. Without any notification to the communities, they called the chief judge at that time at 6 in the morning and said, guess what? You're merging with Ecorse and Rouge. I think the city and the concept of comity, which is not comedy, but C-O-M-I-T-I, as you know from the founding days of the American government, should continue to work with the other two communities because you're bridled together for the rest of your life. And at this point, having worked with them since the state Supreme Court forced this court down your throat, to suddenly change that would banish the relationship that's worked out really well with the other two communities. So it's merely working with the communities. You could come up with those charges now, but as the city managers told you, there's a sense of decency in the fees, and you can't make a profit as a government for a district court. You remember, it's a state unit that's using it, and the three of them combined to pay and then return money to the city. On the other hand, they're also making money for the communities right now, too. So,
Well, I think to Councilman Kelsey's point, though, we're not interested in gouging somebody, but if something's costing us, say, $50,000, we should be able to split that up and at least break even and pay our portion, have them pay theirs.
well, I agree, and I support the concept the city manager brought, but I think at this time, that's the best that you could work with under these circumstances without commissioning big appraisals and
How often do we
analysis.
re-up on this agreement? Because,
no
it can't be
re-upping.
forever, is it?
That's something the community could look at, but I think they're all hoping that that building is not only mothballed, but reduced to something else soon. I don't think they want to stay there. It's certainly not a safe facility, and that's what the studies all show.
No, they've got
So
their
right now,
funds.
you're dealing with a bad situation, and the city managers come up with what might be this time the best figures to deal with that. And you can want more and wish for more, but remember, on the other hand, these three communities that were forced together are getting along really well in that building, and the court is working very well over there.
I'd get along real well, too, if I wasn't paying the bills.
Good. Can I
Yes, sir,
comment
go
on this? I understand exactly where my colleagues are coming from, and I also understand where you're coming from, that you have to have them a number that you can go to them. but that number won't be the same every month. Some months we have our men over there working, some months we don't. What I would suggest is that we would have a fund, we would charge them per that job, not so these would be normal cost, but if more job needs to be done, where we have to bring the men over, then we would charge them a certain amount of hour per our men being there. And that could be easily acquainted, like he said, like my colleague says, by having an account number. Our DPS guys are over there, that's what we charge them. And certainly we shouldn't charge them the entire charge, their percent of using the court.
You're charging them for a person and a half, right?
A share of
If
that.
the billable hours got over that, then we could go for an amendment, budget amendment, right?
That's what I'm.
Well, again,
Something similar.
what I tried to do was based upon, industry standard in terms of coming up with, a lease value to pass on to them to recover our costs. I mean, what you're suggesting wouldn't be we could estimate what that number would be, but that number could be dramatically different. But understand, that it's all going to be passed back to us. So if we give them today a number,
right,
they're going to put that in their budget, and they're going to pass that cost on to the 3 communities. So, let's use this number that I came up with, 30,000, approximately 31,000. So that you're going to see that in their budget, and they're going to say, City of Lincoln Park, your share of the 31,000 is 18.5. So there would be, again, going the rate that you're going, there would be a true up at the end of the year that would say that, well, that actually we did, because of we had higher than expected issues over there, that cost was $35,000 instead of $30,900.
So that's what I'm suggesting, that when we bring this to them and say that we have to charge them the extra, we let them know that this is under normal circumstances, this is what we expect. However, if there are more expenses, we expect there will be more charge.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
It should be up forward and right on the table when we tell them this, not so that they can budget accordingly.
I mean, again, what I was trying to do was come up with a number that we could say, here's a budgeting number. This is what we would be proposing. So that's why, again, we don't have information in the past of what we spent. Going forward, we can collect that. I mean, it's easy to do. What I'm saying is we can't go back and look at what was done there.
Sometimes when your house leaks, you got the budget. You got to come up with it somewhere.
So I'm open to whatever suggestions you have.
Well, myself, I'd say move forward with what you have. It's defensible, and it's something that is reasonable. And if the cost isn't the right thing, then we can deal with them next year or as we enter in because we're going to be talking about this when we go to approve the court's budget.
I think that, if I might end my discussion, is that I don't think Ecorse and Rouge is getting the raw end of the deal. I mean, if I was in their shape, I'd be happier. Come on, I mean, they got a council chamber now because the court's out of there on the second floor of their police department, so they got a brand new. I don't know what River Road, but so it's not like we're gouging anybody. I mean, if I was in their shoes and they asked me to pay more, because I would have to be a common sense approach, say, yeah, that makes sense to me. I don't have a problem with that. I'm in the business too, so as long as you're not taking me to cleaners, I don't have a problem. But at the same token, I'm not giving away Christmas trees here. That's all that's where I'm going. So however that works out is fine with me. Thank you for the study, or the figures. Thank you.
So let me recap what I think I heard and what I'm going to do. So I'm on the same page with everyone. So we're going to move forward with these costs being what we're going to be charging, but we're going to have some type of true up. So at the end of the year, if the costs exceed the approximately 31,000, they would have to compensate the city for that. I mean, is that?
That's what I'm asking for.
Okay, okay. I can do that. Well, that went well.
Your 5 minutes is done. Yeah.
I know. Hey, that's not. I was well under my 5 minutes. You guys
you're
don't have
talking
any.
about us.
That was the easiest one, too. At a previous meeting, we had a conversation regarding a billboard-type sign that an owner on Southfield was interested in. Mayor and council asked us to go back and look at it to see what can be done. Our planner looked at this from a number of different angles. And one of the things that we were trying to do was reduce the potential for a lot of these to happen, but still provide the opportunity in a fair and equitable way for everyone. In the end, our planner recommended that the easiest way to go about this is changing in the sign ordinance. I don't think this has the right number yet. And it's titled potential proposed, or excuse me, under E, interstate freeway limitations. I think this is 1476. I'm not sure of the exact.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And so we already allow this type of signage within 100 feet of the interstate limited access freeway right-of-way. So had this sign been placed there, there wouldn't have been a lot of issue with it. I mean, they would be able to do it. To allow this to happen, and again, to be fair to anybody that's in the same situation, what she would recommend is changing that from 100 feet to 350 feet. And again, that would take in the area that this would be a part of. Our sign ordinance already addresses these large electronic signs, I guess for lack of a better word. So there's only a handful of things that have to be changed in that section E that would accommodate this. I mean, another issue is, how it's supported, a pole or pylon. We'd have to change it from 2 to 3. And that makes sense when you start thinking of these larger signs, you're going to need more base to allow that to happen. So this is the recommendation from the planner if council wishes to go forward with it. Now, with that being said, there's another request that came out was to have the police department review this, and I know Chief Waters is here and anxious to speak on this. So he'll give you his viewpoint right now. Did you want the computer to do the audio?
Okay, good. So I did look at a couple different studies on this, and actually, by looking at them, it was determined that there's really not enough data out there yet on these signs because they're so new, but it went back and forth. Some people thought, the biggest concern on both sides is, or that everyone has, is I'm sure the same thing you're thinking of is it a distraction to the drivers? So there are studies that say there is, and there's also studies that conflict it and say no, that it's not any more of a distraction than a normal billboard, and actually some say that those electronic signs are better than a billboard because they're more clear, you can see them, you can read them faster, and you can move on onto your business. So as far as the studies go, it was really conflicting. I did speak with Southgate's Director of Public Safety. They do have electronic signs in their city. I spoke to him about some of the traffic that they have in those areas. He said that they haven't seen any rise in any accidents and really no problems at all with any type of distracted driving in the area. So my suggestion would be, as long as the sign follows our ordinance with the lights and the size, then I would say we allow it.
And still be stressed that again, if you have a chance to look at our sign code where it talks about these electronic signs, it's very detailed. And I don't know for sure if that was a result of another or previous issue that came up, but it is very detailed, and it addresses the illumination and the pixels. I mean, it's very detailed. That and looking at it, we all seem to be very assured that this is not going to be something that's going to have a lot of impact on the city. And again, even this particular thing says that it can't be visible from a residentially zoned area. So it's going to, again, have to be, situated in such a way that in this particular case, the residential is behind where the sign would go. So it should be able to meet that as well.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Well, through the chair, we have John Meyer, the building department guy. How about we come up here and have him give us a little spin on this? if it's acceptable. I'm just saying he's here, so
He wants to speak.
I know he's egging to get up here.
He loves to be on the spot.
Yeah, I know. Look at him run.
How can I help you? Any particular questions you want to ask?
This particular ordinance, I mean, through the chair, this particular ordinance, what is your opinion? You're the building inspector, you're enforcing the rules for us through the ones we make and all that. Does this sound like a good idea to do over here? I think you know where it's at, am I correct, over there? Is this something that's plausible with the electronic sign, with the digital readout and all the different stuff that's gonna go on there and the different, stuff for that location?
Our biggest concern, as the chief answered, was it going to be on safety issues on driving, and all the rest are able to be addressed from a zoning board variance if the size is to be bigger than our ordinance requires. And council and zoning board will approve a relocation as has been an offer to you to go from 50 to 100 to 300 and some feet to get it inside a new zoning. So that also limits other sections of the city just jumping on board and putting these large signs up. But right now, it'll require an adjustment in the zoning in the size that's there, based on the old school original ordinance. The old ordinance isn't quite as large as a description of a billboard sign, but that's not difficult for zoning to understand the modern day issues and the popularity of size to be increased.
The reason I'm asking is that, through the chair, we have a lot of, we just had the kidney center, dialysis center over there, and now the corridor is gonna get a little crowded, is what I was getting at, and I'm just, that's why I asked the question, because you have, right there, you have the donut shop, which lines up in the Southfield like you wouldn't believe in the morning, and now you're gonna have a sign a little bit further down, and then you got the expressway on-ramp to 75 going north, and then you have it on the other side, so you have, and then the ones come up, so you got a lot of congestion in that short area, and that's what I was asking. Now you're gonna put a sign up there, which there's already one there, but I mean now electronic sign that's gonna be flashing different notifications that talk about whether it's safety or whether it's the business or whatever.
Yeah,
Is that gonna be?
I think you get a one-directional sign. It's not going to be two-faced, so it's not going to see both sides, because it has to be away from residential property, so it's going to be one-sided. So now you're really going to see it going towards 75, and so it's not going to be a distraction or a breakdown from anybody coming from 75 into the city.
And this is strictly for the area we're talking about. It's not gonna impact the other parts of the city per se, because it doesn't, it's not, the code doesn't address that, addresses this. Am I right or wrong?
Well, it's going to affect any parts of the city where it's within 350 feet of
Freeway?
freeway, limited access highway. So on Dix will be another area that could be impacted.
That's what I was getting at through the chair, if I may, is to make sure that we don't do one thing and the acorn falls someplace else and somebody else comes up here and now that's what I was getting at.
Well,
So that's all I was
So I mean,
Make sure.
the complication in doing this is that normally signs are associated with zoning districts.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we started talking about this, it was from that point of view that the area that the person's requesting it in council, mayor and council seem interested in allowing is in a certain zoning district. So if you go based on zoning district, that would impact a large area of the city. I mean, we have a number of, I think it's municipal business, if I'm not mistaken, areas within the city. Again, because, the city has been very reluctant to expand those type of signs, we didn't want to just open the door to where it could happen anywhere. And so the thought process is that, again, the planner came up with is, limit it to areas that it's already allowed, expand it a little bit so this area would fit into it, but it's going to minimize where these signs can go. Now, if this one happens and there's no issues and mayor and council desire to open it up to more places, I think then we can start looking at it zone by zone, what makes sense. But, we wanted to, even though we're opening it up to more potential, we didn't want it just to be uncontrolled all over the place. So, again, I think, Leah did a great job in terms of, addressing the need. This is what the need was, this limits it, so we're not just, willy-nilly having, electronic signs all over until we have a little bit better understanding of what they mean to the community. And
we'll be looking at it as part of when we do the master plan.
And that's exactly what I was going to say, is we're going through the master planning process, and so that gives us an ability actually to talk to the residents as we're putting that together. Because I will tell you, I think when the DDA director was here, I'd mentioned that we need to look at our sign code. It's antiquated, although electric signs very up to date. But for the most part, the way that it goes about, assigning different types of signs to the districts, it's kind of behind the times. So we need to address that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Sure, I'd like to ask. There are a lot of if you go and talk to businesses, this is one of the big gripes is our signage issues, which we've just said we're going to be talking about. I'm interested in, is anybody else who would be in this area come forward asking for a sign? Did you know of?
No, I don't know. I know while we're working on redesigning the sign ordinance, we've eliminated some of the complexities that are coming in now. We've just got them down to 1 or 2 signs instead of 5 or 6 or 8 signs. So we've cut those things off the tables without permit. So we've eliminated that. But right now, the way this is set up, it capsulizes 3 things that protect you. Location is based on a freeway, so it's limited in location. Number 2, the size even in the ordinance is much smaller than the one that's going to be requested. So from now on, you won't have this size until it's reviewed and resigned. And number 3, it has to look away from a residential, so the light issues don't become, and there won't be very many places, even going on to 75s or onto the freeways, that you'll be able to put it in without being careful not to be affected. So there will never be double signs at this point, the way that this design is written. So you'll have the safety to protect against families and residentials being disturbed by it night and day.
So you're looking for a general consensus, whether, and then any ordinance change would have to be approved by us at that particular time. So I would say give the general go-ahead and then give the final determination when the ordinance comes.
Okay, you will be seeing this shortly. Next.
What have you been doing lately, Matt?
I was going to say, you come back from a trip and all of a sudden.
Been busy. No, it's, I'm only passing on the hard work of others. Another item that staff was directed to bring to council was the body art facility proposed zoning changes. And so the last we talked about this, it was requested that we bring this back as soon as possible. I thought, again, Leah Dumichel, who is our planner with Beck and Rader, put together a very straightforward, if you want to do it, this is what you need to do. And at the very top there, where it talks about following the sections in the Lincoln Park zoning ordinances where updates are necessary. So there are 4 updates to the existing code that we have to do if mayor and council wish to allow body art facilities, aka tattoo parlors, to be allowed within the city outside of what currently exists. And right now, as you may be aware, that tattoo parlors are covered under our adult regulated uses. So there's only one area where you can have a tattoo parlor in the city, and that's effectively along Paplis Drive.
Your Honor, through the chair, I noticed that we have that where it's only allowed on Paplis, but we've got a big store in the south end of town that says tattoo supplies.
Right. That's just supplies, not tattoos.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't fit under the
work in the
definition.
back room, huh?
Yeah, that doesn't, well, yeah, as far as we know. So with this, and there's already been some discussion with the DDA, had with our planner, with the Planning Commission on this. So everything that you're seeing here is something that was discussed with the Planning Commission, and they at least, gave the nod that this would be acceptable to them. So the first thing we'd have to do is remove the tattoo parlors from the adult regulated uses. The second thing, we then have to define body art facilities, separate from the adult regulated uses. We then have to add body art facilities as permitted uses with special land use approval in the central business district. And that's important because it's not something as of right. So you just can't say, I'm going to open up a tattoo parlor or adult or a body art facility in the central business district. You have to go to planning commission and they have to approve it. And then the last thing that has to be done is add a 1,000-foot buffer to site design standards for uses permitted after special approval. Of course, more complicated, and that's what the remaining 9 pages go over, what that really looks like. Again, if you have no problem with this, the next step would be to present the ordinance, the resolution ordinance, at the next council meeting, but I wanted you to have this in your hands so you can review it before we actually bring it there. If there's a desire not to do this, let me know, because we can save a lot of work in putting that final ordinance together.
Well, this came to the DDA through the citizens requesting that it be made available, and that's where this whole process started looking. So I'd like to see it move ahead for consideration anyway. Either yes or no.
If I don't hear anybody screaming at me, we're going to be bringing it to the next council meeting. Nobody screaming, so that's what we'll do. Thank you. I'm starting to move it along now.
Now you're going to get fast.
We're picking up steam.
There was another 5 minutes. Yeah. You're losing the audience. Hurry.
No such thing as quickness here. Okay. I received correspondence, and that's enough, from an attorney, Morello Law Group.
Dad used to be a police officer.
So it's someone you know. They, let me get this, I have one more handout. 1954 Rio is owned by their client, and this is a property, actually, it's recently been torn down because of a fire issue. And so here's the kind of information. So let me give you the positive side of this, and then we'll talk a little bit about the negative side.
This is the one I went.
So the positive side is that the trust passed this on to the client of this particular law group. They have decided they do not want anything to do with this property. And so the attorney contacted me to inquire if the city would be willing to accept this parcel in lieu of any outstanding costs that may be there. And there is winter taxes that are still owed of $513.77 that were not paid, so it's just, that's been turned over to the county. So in the end, if this happens, we'll be losing the $513.77. The property itself is a 40-foot frontage, so it's really underneath what our parameters are to rebuild on this lot. So most likely it's going to be a candidate to split it up or sell it to an adjacent landowner.
Question? I thought we had set the buildable lot at 35. Have we changed that?
Well, we've been looking at, we haven't, ourselves, when we've been doing projects, we've been doing 40 or above. So, I mean, this is right there. I mean, we could try it, but I don't know of any, John probably has any, if we've done anything less than 40 foot.
Nothing less than 40.
I mean, I'm not looking to start building cracker boxes.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking of is for the enhancement of the city, it might be better to have a home on there than just have a lot.
Right. No, I agree. And again, we can put this out to bid to see if anybody would be interested in building on it or look at ourselves and doing it. I'm just saying that it's a marginal size. We generally don't, build ourselves on that size. We're usually looking for 45 foot. That way we can have a driveway and a garage and all these other amenities. So again, I'm not that far yet with this, because the downside to this is, if you look at the picture that was provided, and that's provided by John Meyer, they did do a demo on this, but unfortunately they decided to fill the hole with concrete. I'm assuming that's probably like the driveway, more than likely. that they're putting in there, which is not acceptable to the city. And so he's been struggling with them, which I found out in talking with him earlier this evening, that he's actually got him going into court here very shortly.
I was just going to say, this is, I threw the
Which
chair if I may.
oddly was not brought up to me by the attorney, so.
I have a question. Wasn't this home that supposedly burned down, was it covered by insurance?
That's the one you're talking, yes, I'm sorry.
It, again, all I know is they tore it down.
Why is this attorney expecting us to pick up the cost of what his insurance has already probably paid him?
Yeah. I'm not recommending or saying we shouldn't do this. I'm just bringing forward to you what their request is, and their request is for the city to take that in lieu of anything else. Again, if you were to do that, we would have a very serious conversation with them in terms of what we expect the property to be turned over to us, in a buildable condition potentially, but definitely one not like it currently is. So I guess, I will engage them in a conversation because it was a very, probably about a 5-minute conversation with them on what they wanted to do. I said, listen, put it in writing to me so I at least have something to talk to council, mayor and council about with this. I guess, one, is there any interest in going forward with this, or is it, heck no, we're not even interested, let them deal with it?
I would say that, one, we don't want it to turn into a money pit for us, where we're putting thousands and thousands of dollars into something where we're going to maybe get $2,000 worth of profit on that. If you say that it's going to be, we get it in a buildable condition, we have to then eat $500 with potential for $20,000, well, then, yeah, but the devil's in the details, is what you're saying.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I'd be
there's a
interested
lot of details here.
in proceeding forward with it, but just a little leery.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I totally agree with what you're saying there. We don't want to become a money pit, but we don't want to become a nuisance for the residents that have to live in that area either. So we want it cleaned up one way or the other.
Yeah.
Because it would then continue on until they lost the property tax.
Through the chair, if I might, myself and Mr. Parkinson drove by this house a while back. It's burned on a corner of an alley right behind a business on Rio. It's a corner house, okay? And it's been sitting there for a long time. I had conversations with John. John probably can tell you the history about this, John, about the fact that it was sitting for a long time and they didn't do nothing. They left the equipment on there and half filled with, anyways, John took them to court, I think, last Thursday. Am I correct, John? Yeah, and had to enforce them to do what they were supposed to do. And my concern is it's looked like a pigsty when it was there. They did a half job. They didn't do anything with cordon off the area that much to make sure nobody got into it. And now, I guess the question I got, they got paid for it. Somebody got paid or took the money and did their own demo, however you want to put it. And now they're coming to us. So my only comment is if they clean it all up and make it billable, then I don't have a problem. But I'm not going to pay for somebody who decided to take the money and run. Half of John says, oh, by the way, we're going to dump and run. Have a nice day.
Right.
So that's my take on it.
Well, that's assuming facts, not evidence right now. We don't know if the home was insured or if those circumstances were there.
I think John can, through the chair, if I may, I think John can give you the skinny on that because John was in court with the guy. Am I right, John?
To me, it doesn't matter if they're insured or not. They have to clean their own lot.
Yes, they do. And in the end, we're only looking to whether we want to go further with this and research this.
Right.
And general consensus is that we have Matt look out for the best interest of the city and proceed with caution.
Yeah, and I'd say work with John because he's got some prior history, obviously, about what's happened with this, yeah.
Thank you, John, but we're all set.
Sorry, John.
You're all right. And then, next item, sir?
Next item, just an update on the Historical Museum. We're having a follow-up meeting on Wednesday, the DDA, the museum director, as well as myself, to talk a little bit more about the future of that. So I will let you know what comes out of that. Another update, I'm trying to get through the updates. We've received an extension for the MIOSHA issue that we're having with the assessment, asbestos assessment of this building, as well as the hazard communication plan. We actually have the asbestos assessment in hand. Yes, there is. So we should have that probably well before the April 30th deadline put together. So that's moving forward. We made the payment of the fine, so we're setting really good with that.
Was the fine lessened?
Yeah, it was originally $5,600 and it was reduced to $2,800.
Thank you.
Almost done. 3 issues. Wanted to have a quick discussion. If you remember back, there was some discussion by a couple different council members, I think the mayor, Council President Murphy, talking about having a fix-up cleanup week.
It's on my notes for the night.
We are looking at the week of May 7th through the 12th, and we have just a little bit more work to do to finalize some things, and so I'm anticipating the next council meeting, April 2nd, I believe, we'll be bringing a resolution to codify all that. I still have some things I need to work out with our trash haulers. Hopefully we'll do that this week still. But it is going to be a grand week. It's going to culminate on May 12th, which is a Saturday, in what some are calling the largest volunteer effort ever in the city of Lincoln Park, where we are going to touch 19 parks in one day with a lot of volunteers. More will be coming out on that. We've already got some sponsors lined up. If anybody's interested in helping to sponsor, call my office. If anybody's interested in volunteering blindly at this point of what they're going to do, call my office. And that's 313-386-1800. The extension's 1231. That'll get right to James, who is the main person calling me. All I do is sit here, speak with James. So he is the man to be talking to. But it is going to be an outstanding event. We're also going to be celebrating Earth Day and Arbor Day in that one day as well, which again, details will follow. I just wanted to let you know that we are working on bringing that about. We're working out the details so we can bring back the resolution to mayor and council to finalize that. We're looking for some big things that week. Okay, next item is something that the Director of Public Service, John Kazoo, has been waiting anxiously all night to talk to you about. And I believe he handed out to everyone. Did you hand out to everyone this? Or is it just me? Everybody? So everybody should have this concrete sectioning program because he's looking to potentially save the city money.
Yep.
John.
Sounds good to me.
Mr. Koppler, that was a long 5 minutes.
3 minutes.
Mayor and Council, I received a phone call from GV Cement. Last year, I handed out for you a bid tab from the 2017 concrete sectioning and utility work contract, and GV Cement was red low on that particular project. They have offered to the city to keep the same unit rates if the city would award them the 2018 sectioning and concrete utility repairs for the utility work. So I guess it's up to this body to extend our contract, if you are so inclined, to maybe ward off higher cost if it goes out to bid. Now, a couple of things to think about. Do you think that the price of concrete itself has gone down, remained the same, or will be going up? Same question for fuel cost, labor cost, and equipment cost. But right now, this work is out for bid presently, and it is due in approximately a week and a half. If you are so inclined to accept GV Cement's offer, then I would like to cancel those bids that are due in a week and a half. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Spending and a certain amount of money, we, by law, we have to go out for bid. Would this be covered by that law?
You have the right, and it has been done, you have the right to waive the bid requirement. And the last time we did this was actually for the retention basin work that we were doing. And that one was really, because we had 2 bids on that, and there was a dramatic difference between the low bid and the next highest bid, and so we were very concerned that, we probably wouldn't be able to get as good of a bid the next time we did it because there's only a handful of people that would do it. So there is a precedent for it. I can let the city attorney opine on that if you want.
Very quick opine, which you've gotten over many times, is that there's no state bid law requirement. The city can make any decision in the best interest of the community. Council just has to make a record of that and waive the bid procedure. Is that good enough opine?
That's good opinion.
On the previous one where we waived the bidding, but we had not gone out for and actually solicited bids and had them,
Correct.
okay.
You're gonna have to undo it.
We need a resolution, Your Honor?
If we're going to take that action, yeah, we would need something.
Could we extend the contract to cover that period?
Yeah, I think if we're going to do that, though, I would like to have something in writing to you and from them that accepts it, because what I would hate to do is you do something tonight and they say, oh, we changed our mind, we're not going to do that. So I think tonight, we can take the action with, as long as there's an understanding by council that when we bring back the resolution to waive the bid and extend the contract, that you'll do that. But if there's not a desire to do that, I would just let it play out and see what it comes back as. I mean, the problem is I don't know if there's been any bids opened up here in the last month for concrete to be able to know what that price would be.
You just awarded an intersection earlier in the meeting.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
So you wanna
I'd be
speak to
glad
that?
to move on such a resolution. I know that with the economy starting to turn around, prices they're going to go one way, and that's up. So, well,
Well, they won't do that.
I don't have a problem if we don't need a resolution. I would concur then.
Yeah, I mean, if could we put Ryan Kearns from Hennessy on the spot? Since we pay them to help us make decisions like this.
I want to say the concrete prices are going up. We're seeing that the concrete prices, asphalt prices are going up. I would agree with John that you're not going to see a decrease in prices. The prices that we got from GV were good prices. They definitely were on the lower end even last year. So, I would if GV is willing to do that, I would recommend extending their contract. They've been in the city doing that project for the last 2 years and have done good work for the city. So,
So
got to be.
With that, though, that won't be their bid submission? Is that what I'm gathering?
But there wouldn't be a bid, so that it would be.
That's not what I'm saying. That would not be what they would bid to us in the upcoming package.
I can't.
Indication?
I can't say what they would bid, if they would bid the same prices or not. I can't. I wouldn't know that.
Would you recommend then withdrawing the request for bids and extending the existing contract?
Correct.
To get a two-part resolution.
Yes.
Do we need to act on it today?
To withdraw the bid process, we would need to have a resolution today, because those bids are due a week from Wednesday. So we'd have to have a resolution to cancel the bid process. We don't necessarily need to extend the contract tonight. We could do that at the next meeting if you desire.
I like his handwriting better than mine.
But if we vote to
Not take the bids.
not take the bids, then that puts us in
They would just put it back out to bid again.
bag here.
Yeah, I mean, we just put it back out to bid, but, I mean, obviously, they haven't put anything in writing. This has been verbal that they're doing that. I mean, that's.
I think we just heard from them today, right?
Your Honor, could we make this resolution based on the city manager getting a letter of agreement from them saying that that's the case? That they're going to do thus and thus?
But he needs to cancel it on Mitten right away.
Yes.
Or I hate canceling the bids.
I just want to, through the chair, I just want to make sure that we're not going to get in trouble for this, is all I'm saying. I mean, that's, You know, I don't want somebody coming back and saying, I mean, great verbal, but I mean, somebody always comes up and says, well, you didn't check this particular rule, you know? That's all I'm saying. I mean, because like I said before, there's a lot of money you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to rely on our city attorney
Yeah.
for that advice. Yes, sir.
I was going to ask, how soon does it have to be? I mean, if we made the resolution tonight concurrent on Matt's ability to get them to give us something in writing tomorrow, would that be sufficient?
There's an easy way around this. So what we will do is we will put out an addendum on this bid, extending the opening.
Yeah, we could do that.
2-3 weeks down the road.
Right.
That will give us time to get something in writing from them, which will push us to the next meeting, which will be April 2nd, and then we have something to act on. And then I don't have to write this.
Transparency of the city's intent to extend the existing contract is clear now, and it doesn't look like we're suddenly pulling the bid paperwork out of these guys. So make sure you notify immediately all.
Yeah, so we'll put an addendum on the mitten tomorrow morning
Yeah, we
to
have to do
extend
the
the bid,
addendum
to
and-
extend the bid opening.
Right. That was easy.
Yes, yes.
Crisis averted.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I lied. There's two things more.
I don't want to see that.
A council member has asked for information from the last lawsuit from the retirees that was dismissed in federal court, of what the expenditures were for attorneys and consultants that worked on that. And that's the number.
Wow.
The last thing that I have, actually, I'm going to turn over to our city attorney, and I believe he may have said something at a previous council meeting about this, and now is the time to elaborate.
Yes, I did, and Mayor and Council, I'm giving you what may be too much to digest and review this evening. It concerns a proposal that the city attorneys are taking to the local communities here to sue the distributors, manufacturers of the various opioids and hydrocodone, those types of drugs, to recover the costs of public safety in response to the opioid crisis. That would be fire and police costs. I've presented it to the city of River Rouge, which has already come on board. It'll be presented to Woodhaven and Southgate this week. I'd like council to digest that because it's too late to read it all. There's a law firm in Chicago that is filing suit on behalf of local communities, not in federal court, but in state district courts, in the state district courts of the manufacturers, distributors, and pharmaceutical companies that make the drugs that have led to the opioid crisis in the United States today. They are now in Michigan. I've been meeting with them, taking them to different communities with the city attorneys, and should council elect to go through that package and review it, I suggest that at the next meeting, you be prepared to adopt a resolution. There's no cost to the communities. It's similar to the tobacco actions. There's attorney's fees that are recovered on top of whatever the recovery would be for the communities. I've already met with police and fire as early as last December. I brought it to council's attention back then that the firm would be coming forward to make this presentation. They've had great success in the state of Ohio already and in the state of Pennsylvania. The difference is they're suing in state court as opposed to federal court. You may have noticed in the news the last few days that Attorney General Sessions has taken a federal preemption statute on suing in federal court, that the recovery would go through the federal government and then pass down to the communities. So this would be separate community actions, similar to the tobacco action. They call it not class actions anymore, but mass actions. And hypothetically, Lincoln Park or Woodhaven or Rouge or Southgate could sue either here or in California or in Illinois, wherever the site is of the manufacturer. The law firm would observe the costs. This is the proposal that was presented to River Rouge. You'll get a more formal proposal to Lincoln Park. But before it's discussed and debated, I suggest you digest it and review it. I should tell you, on the other hand, the city of River Rouge, they approved it in about 3 seconds to get involved because of what it's cost them for public safety. I would also suggest that you get input from the fire chief and the police chief, irrespective of my contact with them previously, to find out what their opinion is and what their costs are today.
Question, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Through the chair to the city attorney, who would be the city be suing in this instance?
Before
The
any
manu-
actions filed, they
the
will give you the
doctors, the
names of
manufacturers,
Could be
or-
the manufacturers, certain pharmaceutical companies, I don't believe they're looking at any physicians. These are all the major manufacturers, just like the tobacco litigation.
And this would be why, I mean, there's no longer any personal responsibility on the people that take these pills?
I think the position that the federal government has taken already and that these communities have taken, and you might note that Wayne County and the city of Detroit have gotten involved early with the Bernstein law firm, and then it was preempted by the federal action. But they're going with law firms to sue because not only is it responsibility, but it's not the responsibility of individuals because they're certainly not going to reimburse you for public safety costs. This is not to recover for individuals, but for the community's actual out-of-pocket costs that can be verified for public safety.
I'm just trying to see what the rationale is. You know, you're suing someone who sells a product, and it's not them, but the person who uses the product that misuses it. So why are we suing the manufacturer?
I would suggest that you review the packets and see where the responsibility is borne on the manufacturers who have decided to distribute it with wanton disregard for public safety, allowing easy prescriptions, easy distribution. And that would be the approach that would have to be taken. It's not something that I would be prepared to debate here at all. If you feel that there's a problem with opioid addiction, you feel that someone's at fault, just like the tobacco legislation. I know many people took a position in the tobacco legislation that individuals chose to smoke, but the evidence, the empirical evidence showed otherwise in the lawsuits, and that's why the tobacco manufacturers paid billions, which the states didn't use for the purposes they were supposed to use. This is an approach from the communities working from the bottom up where the actual expenses are in responding to narcotics overdoses by police and fire, and the cost the city incur for that. So it has nothing to do with who chooses to use it, but how the cities get stuck paying for it, because certainly the addict isn't paying you back for that rescue run, for the Narcan, for the incarceration, for the prosecution. So this is a bottom-up approach from the ground level to recover the costs that we incur, meaning we as communities, local communities, as opposed to state government.
We bill for drunk driving costs.
Yes, we do.
Right now, and then you have the additional, say, the dram shop law, where the people that serve the people that go out and commit accidents are liable for that, so.
You're absolutely correct. In fact, Councilman Murphy will remember that Lincoln Park was the first community in Michigan to pass an ordinance suing for recovery for drunk driving accidents. The same argument was presented then by the state when we presented it, that we're not putting the drinks in those people's hands, causing them accidents. They should pay for it on their own, and the city can't recover it. And the city recovered, then you know that the state ultimately passed that legislation. They had hearings down here. This is not to protect or to reimburse an addict. It's to recover the costs the city's expended because of someone else's negligence. And that's what this is.
My point is here, with that particular law on the drunk driving, we're suing the drunk driver.
Yeah.
We're not suing Johnny Walker.
That's correct.
And
But in the
that-
tobacco litigation,
Suing the drunk driver makes sense to me. Suing Johnny Walker does not make sense to me.
well, I certainly, if you guys can find a law firm that wants to sue every addict that our fire and police rescue, then I would say to do that. But I think there's a greater scheme. And that's why I'd suggest you read the material first to make sure you're acquainted, because it's not ripe for discussion or debate until you see the material. I don't want to drop anything more on you tonight, but I think if you talk to the fire chief and the police chief and you find out how much of their time and cost and effort go into this, someone's putting the drugs in the hands of these addicts. And if you've dealt, and Judge Clifton would be a good individual to talk to, who's working with that fan group here that meets in Lincoln Park every month. The individuals may or may not want to be addicts, but once they get hooked, they can't stop. And it's not them that are making the decisions, those individuals, to pass out, but it's our police and fire that are charged by law to rescue and recover.
So it's your recommendation that we consider this at the council meeting next week?
Yes.
2 weeks.
All right.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. So then I would suggest that everybody review that packet, reach out to Judge Clifton and to the police and fire chief, and then we'll have an informed discussion on this at our next meeting.
I got a question through the chair, if I might. Can we have the city manager get the figures from the police and fire department and shove them in our box or be here so we can, I mean, that way it's just easier, unless you're going to have all of us walk into the fire department, police department, and sit down and talk, I mean, and disrupt the operation. That's all I'm asking. Would that be convenient or not? Or how would?
When you say figures,
Well, just like Ed's talking about, we have the runs that are given to the police and fire commission of how much we do for, that's what I was getting at. That's what I'm talking about. I mean,
Even if they could give us the number.
I'm going to suggest
the number of runs.
to council that if
I
you
just asked
followed any of the class action or manufacturer litigation for injuries such as this, and the tobacco lawsuit is the most recent that draws that, is they never quantified actual figures. nor do they in regular class actions. They approximate damages, and I've never been one, including when we sued law firms for malpractice in the past, to tell the city to shy away from sticking a finger in someone's eye if it's cost the city money. And a dead addict is not the person you stick the finger in the eye. It's someone who provided that. Eventually, let's face it, it's going to go to gun manufacturers too. It's someday that's going to happen.
Mr. Zelnick, correct me if I'm wrong. In the case of the cigarettes companies that were sued, didn't some of that come back because the companies themselves were not truthful with their product from the beginning?
Certainly, and you might find this with the opioid matters too. And so we're looking at truthfulness and not breaking backs of corporations, but in terms of a city that provides sanctuary and services to its residents, just bear in mind that police and fire have to respond regardless of whom the person is lying on the street with an overdose.
Seems like we're looking for money scapegoat.
Alrighty, sir, move on.
Thank you, and that's all I had unless you have questions.
I only wanted 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's the guy next to you that spent a lot of time.
All right.
He said his pay on how short his reports are.
Come on now. All right, thank you, Mr. Copler. Then we'll move on to department head report. Today is the library director, so Nicole.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I will try to keep this brief. Okay. Okay. I wasn't really going to go over stats because they've been incredibly consistent from the last time I presented to the group. In terms of circulation, we've been averaging it pretty consistently between 2,800 and 3,000 items circulated per month. And the same goes for card registrations. It's consistently between 75 and 100 per month. Something new that has come up is for our ebooks, there is a new app available from the iTunes store and also for Android devices, Libby, and that's available to download for free. And if you have a tablet or a phone, it makes it a lot easier for people to utilize and access the services that we have available for free through Overdrive. And it'll save all of your information. And it also saves a history of what you've checked out and your likes and dislikes. So most of the people that have started using it really liked it, and I think it makes it a lot more user-friendly for people who are interested in checking out the ebooks. So I would suggest giving that a try. And then the other big thing that we have going forward into spring is the library is going to transition into using a new library platform that will go live to the public on the 29th. Next month, our staff and also all of the library staff in our network will be undergoing the training for it. It'll be a lot quicker and easier to use for library staff, but also on the front end for people using our web catalog or looking at their account, paying fines, etc. It's going to be a lot easier to use. Carl is used by a lot of the major library systems in the U.S. Los Angeles, their public library system recently started using it, and In terms of users, our library network now, we are close to that size. We are one of the bigger library networks in the U.S. because there's over 70 libraries in the network now. So it'll make it a lot quicker in terms of using the records, and just also for people using the site, it's going to be a lot more user-friendly. I wish I had a picture to give of how the catalog's going to look, but across every library system, it looks a little different depending on how their web page is already set up. The other thing I wanted to announce is the Friends of the Library book sale. That is coming up very soon. It's going to start on the 6th and run through the 14th. We're still accepting donations for the sale up till the end of the month. And the Friends and their sale have funded a lot of the library projects that we have done recently. They paid for all of the renovations of the library workroom. And just recently, they purchased changing tables for both of our public restrooms. So the proceeds are always going to fund new things to keep the library up to date. So it's a good cause to get involved with. If you're looking for a volunteer opportunity, I know that the Friends are looking for new members. And then also in the month of April, we're having Food for Fines. It goes through the whole month. If you have fines and for one reason or another you haven't had the ability to pay, you can bring in non-perishable food items such as, canned food or boxed food, and we will accept that in lieu of fines. Now, that doesn't cover the cost of lost or missing books, but any of library charges in terms of overdue fees will be covered by this. And then the summer reading program is going to kick off on June 19th. Every year they have a different theme. This year, the theme is Libraries Rock, so it's going to be an emphasis on music programs. I know our youth librarian has already lined up a lot of activities involving music and also involving, I think, the Lincoln Park schools in their bands. So we should have the full schedule published soon, but there will be a lot of exciting events coming up. That's about it. Was there any questions? How are you donating the foods that you cook? It's split between the Gleaners and then whatever local charity. In our case, it's going to go to Blessed Hope.
Okay.
Through
Is
the
there
chair.
anything, questions from council?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I just want to comment that in her spare time as librarian, Nicole is also met with myself, Mike Higgins, and Courtney West, the high school librarian, to start work on the second annual Downriver Book Fair, which will be at the high school. And so anybody that wants to get involved with that, just connect with Mike Higgins, myself, Courtney West, or Nicole, and get involved in the book fair. And thank you to Nicole for getting me the contact information to get this event out into the world of books. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. We'd ask you just to stay through citizen communication in case there's a question for you from the
Sure.
audience.
Okay, thanks.
Then we will now go to citizen communications.
My name is Adu Shane, and I live in Lincoln Park. And back in December, a citizen brought up about the Lincoln Park having trouble with their sewer system. It was said to be swell for the city to have a town hall meeting to explain how our two sewer systems work. A town hall meeting could be very informative for the citizens of Lincoln Park, especially since the downriver communities are getting ready to purchase the sanitary sewer system from the county. And then it was brought up tonight about that emergency sewer repair that the city council voted on at the last meeting, 2018-65, that the pipe broke underneath Kerfoil Creek, I guess it was. And it was the city didn't repair it themselves, they give it out to a contractor. And that's all we know about it. I didn't see nothing in the paper or how big a pipe it was, a 2 foot or 5 foot or what, or how deep it was underneath the creek, 5 feet, 10 feet or what. And it costs $100,000. And we also don't know if there was other sewer lines underneath the different creeks we have. We got the Ecorse Creek and the one that would the one that just happened had the repair on, Kerfoil Creek one. So them things would be critical to bring up at a town hall meeting. We could go into detail on it. Now that's something we can't go into a lot of detail in the city council meeting, but we could there. Did they have to have a coffee jam to get to that pipe down there or what? A lot of us are kind of interested in that, and I haven't heard nothing about it. And don't forget, and it was nice to hear good things about Friends of the Library, which I am vice president and acting chairman. And don't forget to bring your scrap paper to the bins on Cleopas at the back of the library. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
I'm Lillian Ross, a resident. I was browsing the city's website and I noticed that there's a couple commissions that don't have contact information. I just wanted to make it easier for all the residents. Could we please add an email to all the commissions?
We will consider that. I don't know what the ramifications are with that.
I know that some of them have one. I know that they list the members, but just, one contact person for questions. And then another, that proposed lawsuit, will that proposal be made available for the residents to view?
Yeah, when we bring forward the resolutions and everything for council, that's a public document, so yeah, that will be available.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Sean Stansbury. Good evening, Mayor and Council. How's everybody doing tonight? I seen an article in the Detroit News on March 13th. The Supreme Court, Michigan Supreme Court, will hear arguments in the months ahead about whether court costs ordered by local judges are an illegal tax. Court costs are a key source of revenue for Michigan courts. Anyone convicted of a crime can be ordered to pay a portion of the court costs operating expenses. The state's appeals court said it's a legal tax. Critics say the amount is determined by local courts, not the legislative, and is unconstitutional. So if I understand it right, the state wants to take revenue away from the local courts because they feel that the fine set by the localities is unconstitutional because the legislative branch doesn't control it. Local governments need to be in command of decisions, fines, fees under the law.
Lincoln Park is better served if we take back our city and advance smart conservative principles. I believe with Matt, our city manager, mayor, and council, this city is going in the right direction. We as a city need to fight the state on things that make no sense, like with this crazy indigent defense bill we have to comply with, which seems like the state is driving us right in the ground. I hope there is something as a city or a county we can do to reverse this. Welfare for criminals has no place in our court or our city. Makes it very hard for police officers and other local judges to uphold the law. Unfortunately, our state rep agrees with the bill. I wanted to talk, echoing on what Councilman Murphy said about suing the drug companies. I think, personally, my opinion is we need to hold people accountable for their actions. I think that, I think personally, from seeing everything that's going around, I think heroin dealers need to be sued. They have money. They're killing a lot of people, and I think it's unfortunate that people are doing this to themselves, but I think if they don't have willpower, I think that they're susceptible to doing it more. So, and as far as the city attorney was talking about suing gun manufacturers for people committing crimes with guns is ridiculous. It's a joke. So I just wanted to state that. On a different note, I would like to urge our citizens to adopt a pet at the Wyandotte Animal Shelter off Grove Street in Wyandotte. There's some great animals there that need a forever home, so go see Anita and crew and give a stray a loving home. Last but not least, May 8th is a special election. I hope everybody in the city gets out and votes, and we get someone that's really good on the city council and will keep doing good work like everybody else is. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Good evening, Lincoln Park City Council members. My name is William Fay, and I am the Vice President of the Lincoln Park Horseshoe Club. I am here to address a problem that has arisen with permits, in which we as a club have purchased and have done so for 31 years. Last year, there was a physical attack on a member by another member that was handled by the police and in your courts. We as a club legally removed the attacker from the club. Now this person has had the audacity to go to your permit office and was allowed to purchase a permit to start a new club on our pits. Pits that have been bought and paid for and installed and maintained by our club. So my question to you is, how can your permit office issue another club a permit for our pits?
Well, very simply, it's not restricted to just one group that can use that. Because my understanding of what took place here is that this was a day that was not restricted at all, and we can't stop citizens from coming in and requesting to use city property in that fashion.
But this isn't city property. We paid
Yes,
and...
it is, sir. It is
because
city
it's a
property.
public park, sir?
It is city property, yes, sir.
Even though our club purchased and maintains everything that's in that pit, those
Well,
pits?
sir, that's not absolutely correct, though, is it?
I believe it
The
is.
electrical work and things that were done to the building the previous year, several $1,000s were borne by the city, was it not?
That was a building that is in the park, not the pits, sir.
Inside of the fenced-in area where the pits are and where the club utilizes and stores their equipment, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Electric lights were put in so that you could, upon your request, so that you could see on the inside, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So it's okay for someone that attacked someone to go ahead and do whatever?
Well, I'm not condoning a tax on anything. I'm condoning that a citizen has the right, or a group has the right, to come in and reserve a pavilion, reserve whatever city resources or parks that we have available and available for rent. It's
Okay.
nothing that we can do to stop somebody of that. It's their legal right to do that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Mayor, are we leasing these pits?
No.
They're just,
we have no written agreement at all.
Preserving.
oh, if they're maintaining them, maybe we should set up a lease type of thing where they can get their payments in, and anybody else who wants to use them could be charged to use them.
Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I don't know if anybody knows who I am. I am the director of the Neighborhood Watch Program here in Lincoln Park. Just recently became the director in June. We've actually seen an increase in our numbers from last year for the
I'm
Neighborhood
sorry,
Watch.
sir, did you identify yourself?
Oh, yes, I did.
Okay, could you do that again by name?
My name is Paul Corbel. I'm the director of the Neighborhood Watch Program in Lincoln Park. We've seen an increase in numbers from last year in June, a number of people who entered the program, a number of 120 people. That's actually a lot of people compared to what happened, the previous year. And we're seeing more of an inflow of people coming into the program. Also last year, we've increased the amount of street signs that we put on the streets. People can sign up for these. If you enter the program, they're actually bigger than these. And we will have installed a lot of these street signs around the schools in the upcoming month or so. Coming by DPS is going to put them in. And our next initiative is to start putting the signs up in the parks, in the park and recreation areas, and then get more people involved in the program and get more signs up. These signs, I'm sorry.
Could you show it so that camera could see
Sure.
that?
I don't know. You see.
There we
Thank
go.
you. These signs will help deter crime in your community, and will hopefully increase the good, people in your community. We want to see the less of the drug clientele in our community, and this will help. I would like to say thank you to the City Council and also to our neighborhood and our Neighborhood Watch. We have to be a community that work together, and that's what the Community Watch is about. It doesn't matter if you want to be involved. Come on out to our meetings. We have a meeting every 2 months, the second Tuesday of that every 2 months. And last meeting that we had, I had Councilman Kelsey come on out. And it was nice to see him come on out and make his appearance, even though he was the only person at the meeting. But, of course, it's the colder climate that we're in. When we're colder outside, people don't want to go to meetings. People don't want to come out in the cold. And, unfortunately, that's the type of environment we live in, right? But I would like to say thank you overall for what you guys do for our, city. I don't know what else to say. But I thought I'd get up here and try to introduce myself, because I'm sure nobody has ever seen me. So, but thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. Anyone else? Then seeing no one, we'll move on to oral reports of mayor and council. Council President Murphy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about tonight that were really concerning neighborhood improvement, community improvement type things, but I did want to make a mention of something that Mr. Sean Stansberry brought up. I really think with this issue that we're going to be discussing, it's not fair to go after the manufacturer of a drug that is given to a doctor, and the doctor gives it to you. The doctor tells you to take 1 pill a day, gives you 30 pills, and says, come back and see me next month. But you decide to take 3 pills a day. You become an addict. And we're going to sue the doctor maybe, or you're going to sue the manufacturer. Makes no sense at all. Same thing with the guns. I'm a gun owner. My son's a police officer. He has several guns. My wife has a gun. And yet it's up to us to be responsible as gun owners to use those guns. If something happens, you don't sue the gun manufacturer because he didn't fire the gun. I think we have to get our priorities in line when we start looking at these kind of lawsuits. To me, this is just a way to find somebody like a manufacturer who has deep pockets where you can get money instead of going after the real problem. That's the person that abuses the drugs day after day, week after week, and we keep going to the same house. I know there's a house down the street from me where the ambulance is there a couple times a week. Same thing. Those are the people that ought to be sued, not the manufacturers. Now, as far as the community improvement goes, I had talked to this council several months ago about having a blue light sale like Kmart used to have as far as our cleanup, fix-up week went. A sale where we could take a couple weeks out of the spring or summer and give a discount to people who buy building permits. Instead of charging them full bunt for a building permit, give them half off, give them a third off, whatever. Something to encourage them to go out and do something to improve their homes. We're real good at using the stick, but not so good at using the carrot. We have pride to use the stick. Somebody doesn't take care of their place, we have pride go out and we make sure that they do. Why not be proactive and give them a break ahead of time? If they need to do something to their home, maybe they need to put new paint on their house, maybe they need to do windows or something like that. Why not, for this 2-week period of cleanup, fix up, give them a break on the building permits? I brought that up, last fall. I haven't heard anything new on it. I would like to hear something like that from the building department. I don't think it's going to be an overwhelming profit loss for us if we can do something like that.
That's all part of the cleanup, fix-up week we're talking about.
Okay, that is going to happen?
Yeah, so we're going to be bringing, like I said, we're working out all the final details so we can bring something to council on the 2nd.
Okay. The other thing, as far as getting things cleaned up, tomorrow, believe it or not, is the first day of spring. And I've been talking to John Kazoo, our DPS superintendent. He needs more people. And he can't get more people because we're not paying enough for the services that he needs to have done. He's been looking for a mechanic for the DPS for 2 years now. But we're not paying enough as a city to get a good mechanic in. So for 2 years, we don't have that mechanic. We need to look at our salaries for maybe other than just the DPS, but certainly now that spring is here, we need some people to get into the DPS. He's trying to hire people to fill potholes. He's trying to hire people to do a lot of other things that are going to clean up this city and make it worthwhile. And we're not getting people to come in for the money we're offering, so we're going to have to offer a few hours extra. And Matt, I'd hope you'd look into that and see what we could do to increase, people's interest in coming to the city of Lincoln Park and working.
Well, I would agree that the going wage for mechanics is below, but we're not having an issue hiring full-time DPS workers.
I talked to John again tonight. He says he's been trying to get about 4 or 5 in, and we're not getting them.
No, those are part-time. So the full-time wages, again, we just, you voted and approved a contract with the PTOMA filled that was, it was a fairly good increase for all of them. It put us up in the, above the 50% ranking for employees in the downriver area. So, you've already given a pretty good increase and actually accelerated them to get to the top rate a lot quicker than what most of the surrounding communities are doing. So again, we're not having an issue with full-time employees related to just the regular DPS workers.
So you're saying we don't have any full-time positions that are not filled in the DPS right now?
I believe we've filled the last 2 that are open full-time. But again, mechanics is different. That's a different, but again, to get into the stratosphere, we're talking $10 or more per hour to get us to be at or above what the surrounding communities are paying.
Yet McDonald's is looking at paying the 15, they're trying to get $15 an hour for flipping a hamburger versus actually doing something to fix the community.
We're talking $29 to $31 an hour if we wanted to be in the market.
For full-time, you mean?
For full-time for mechanic.
Okay, for mechanic.
I mean, yeah, right. Again, for the full-time, DPS worker, there right now isn't any openings. We hope to actually create through the budget process 4 new positions, but what Mr. Kazoo is talking about when he talks about his need, they're part-time positions. They're paying $13 an hour, which again is above what a lot of the communities that do part-time in that are paying. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just want to make sure that if we're going to really look forward to revitalizing our city, we've got to have the manpower to do it. And as I said before, as far as the Blue Light Special goes with the cleanup fix-up, we need to encourage our citizens to be proactive and do things that are going to enhance their neighborhood by fixing up their home, and you don't necessarily just do that by pride. Pride's a tool, and it works well when people complain. But I think we need to do something to encourage people on their own to make an effort to buy something new, to fix something up. And I think I'll leave it at that right now. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Councilman Higgins.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I would just encourage my colleagues to read the information that Mr. Zelenak gave us today, because I think that truthfulness in what corporations are selling has something to do with this, and that's all I'll say on that subject. Moving on, we had a wonderful thing happen in our family this weekend, and I'd like to once again congratulate my son Edward and his new wife Alicia. They were married this Saturday, and we had a lot of people there and a lot of people congratulating them, and just once again want to wish them the best. Then all I'm going to do tonight is mention I have the 3 fundraisers that are coming up. The city's Parks and Recreation is doing a fundraiser on Friday. It's a Ozzy Osbourne tribute band. This is the second tribute band they brought in. The last one was really good. I believe the doors open at 6 and the band goes off at 7. The second one is, of course, the all-day jam that the hands of the city are putting on to help pay for the parade. But it is also a event on its own. $10 gets you in the door. All the free food you can eat. There are many baskets to be gotten. VFW Saturday starts at 12, goes to midnight. It's going to be a great event like it was last year. And lastly, if this is the weekend you want to contribute, this is the weekend to go, because, like I said, first Ozzy, then all-day jam, and then at Chelsea's on Skate Company is having a spaghetti dinner Saturday. I'm sorry I don't have the times. You could look it up on their website. But Skate Company is doing spaghetti dinner, and all that money will go back to Skate Company to help pay to put on their shows. Skating is a very expensive thing, and they do a lot of wonderful things with kids in Lincoln Park, so please consider that. That's all tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Kelsey.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just got a couple of things tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank Mrs. Varga, who's in the audience, for the information on the money that was owed by the cities and how it's going to turn into DUA. That was kind of a shocker to me when I seen that in the newspaper. So I give her congratulations for getting the information. Let me know. I appreciate it. I had a tendency to do my taxes like everybody does at the end of the year. And I come to find out that in Michigan now, they put out a press release that they're going to hold some of the income tax returns for selective identity confirmation. So your income tax for the state might not be as quick as you think it is. They put out, this come from Kara Clementi's office. She was kind enough, after I asked her what was going on, she'd give me the information. I guess because of all the identity theft that's going on with Equifax and all that stuff that's going on, the state has decided to be selective in certain returns to make sure it's you. So they're going to hold them up, give you a call, make sure you know what your dog's name and pet name and all that stuff, and then they're going to process it. So some people will get it in a very short time. Some people it's going to take a little longer. So just, if you're going to do your Michigan State return, you figure on getting it back as usual, you might not, but that's why. It's because the state's doing a, for lack of a better word, a identity theft fraud kind of a process they're doing. The other item I'd like to talk to is about CERT. CERT is the companion to Neighborhood Watch and to the CP Duddy System Patrol Watch, and they're having their training course April 13th through 15th at the Wayne County, or right over here at the old court building, which is the community services building, I guess, for lack of a word. And they're going to do it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You got to be over the age of 18. If you're interested, you can go on the CERT, lpcert.org preparedness training site. It's a good thing for people to get involved. It's a lot of information. They do a very professional job. It helps the community. It helped us out during the last, almost a year ago, we had the issue with electrical out and all that. They did a lot of work. So if you want to help out your community and be involved and be given something back and it's really worthwhile, that's one of the issues you can do. The other thing is that Paul, who's the Neighborhood Watch individual, did a nice job. He heads that up for the community, and he's the one that puts on the speeches and stuff and the information when we go there every second month. And I think that's nice, and I'm glad to see him down here to give a little shout out so people know who he is. He gets his 5 minutes of fame. A couple other issues. The Horseshoe Club come up here, and that's been an issue. I think we need, as a council, look at the Anxiety Alley, because we're still discussing that, I think, to see how that's going to go, because I guess what happened over the years is the Recreation Department, for lack of a word, had different agreements with different clubs, and somehow it got lost in the shakeup. So I think we need to have Doreen or whoever down there take a look at some of these clubs and to get into some of these, what they think they have agreements, and straighten out some of the stuff before we have situations like tonight and other issues where Anxiety Alley couldn't go because of a bunch of other issues. And I think it's just proactive. So I'd like to see the city manager get with Doreen and start working on some of these issues so they can come to council. We can start talking about some of it, which is where it's supposed to come anyways, to council. Because there is a lot of misunderstanding out there of what they think they own, and it's public property. And I think the mayor put it correctly. It's the city's. It's not theirs, even though they do the maintenance and so on and so forth. So I think that would be a good idea for us to get ahead of the ball on that one. The last issue I get into is that the fire department. It seems like we're getting really, and we have been for a long time, really short on manpower. And I think to not to debate the issue tonight, but I think we need to have either a committee of the council or the some kind of tracking plan to take a look at what's going on, because it's getting short over there. And the last time that we had the emergency outage last year, I mean, we were, as a bunch of other communities, because the mutual aid agreement, they don't have anybody either. So when you're thinking they're going to help you, there ain't nobody to help you. So I think we need to take a look at that and whatever. But I mean, to go back and I guess revisit that issue of manpower. I mean, just to take a look at it, not to do anything per se as far as make a judgment now, but take a look at it, see where we're going and how we're doing that to make sure that we're taking care of the citizens and not putting people at risk that risk their lives to take care of us. And that could include the police department and DPS, whatever. But I think we need to take a look at that besides the issue of the contracts, and take a look at what we're doing, how we're manning some of these organizations. And the last thing I'd say is that the opioid thing, I think, is a good thing to take a look at. My wife just got a thing from Express Scripts saying that they are going to now all of a sudden monitor the opioids and all that stuff and all that. And for people that are taking them, they're going to take another look, and sometimes they'll give you a certain amount and a certain amount they won't. So for the bad act of a lot of people, the honest people that go along with the program and now have to have their medication is getting really scrutinized, and they don't want to get caught in the crossfire, so they're making the unilateral, we're going going to give you a little and have you fight the issue whether you get more. And I think that's a shame because this opioid thing's been going on for a lot of years. It just didn't happen yesterday. And I have to agree, there's a certain amount of responsibility for everybody. Nobody's clean in this process, and I'll leave that where it's at. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Darzinski.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 hours and 52 minutes. I will be the cleanup man. Okay. Okay, as Councilman Higgins said, the all-day jam, March 24th, this Saturday at the VFW. Again, this is a big new event in the city. This is our second one, and the proceeds support the Memorial Day Parade. At this event, we'll have raffle baskets, all-you-can-eat food, bands, DJ music. Noon to 4 is family fun time. That's something new we're trying this year. Family rate is $25, 2 adults, 3 kids. Put that together any way you want. And we'll have crafts, we'll have a clown, we'll have a kids book offer there. We'll have other things going on. And then the bands start at 4 o'clock. It'd be nice to see 500 people turn out. I've been talking about this now for 6 months, planning it for 6 months. Still a lot of work to do. If you want to donate anything as far as a raffle basket, just bring it by the VFW post. That's 1125 Ford Street, corner of Monty and Fort. Come to the back door at 11 a.m., drop off a raffle basket. I cannot tell you how much help that would be. We have about 60 raffle baskets right now. It would be nice to have 100 raffle baskets by the time we open up the doors at noon. To keep the food costs down, if you want to donate any type of food, just bring it by. Again, 11 a.m., come to the back door. All of that helps to defray the costs, and then more of the proceeds can go towards the parade. Hands of the City are the volunteers that put this on, that put on a lot of other events in the city. All the volunteers put in a lot of hours, and so come on out. Again, be nice to see 500 people turn out for this event. State Senator Pat Colbeck has been on the airwaves, and I've followed some of the ideas that he has on what we need to be doing as far as roads and the different type of road repairs we do need to do, and he's on the right track. It was also nice that some of the people that called in during the interviews were talking. I won't get too deep in the weeds here because it's so late, but you know, I've hammered away at this forever about the geological differences, and when you study engineering and you study these things, the difference between the west side of the state with more sand in the soil and more clay, especially blue clay, on the eastern side of the state within the soil, and how that changes how your water is absorbed into the soil, and of course your freeze and your thaw process and the heaving of roads. All of this matters when it types of building materials that you use and to the types of roads that you build. I cannot stress this enough. You know, if you actually go on I-375, there's a section of 375 that hasn't had a pothole in decades, and that's because they use the German process. And I don't remember the mixed content now, but part of the German process is they shred up tires and mix it in. They call it rubbercrete. So there's also a British process for that too. So and I'm simply not going to listen to any more to people who sit there and tell me that there's no difference in the materials that you use when it comes to soil. It makes a big difference. Look at the charts, folks. We sit on top of a vein of blue clay. Starts down in Riverview, arcs its way up to Flint and Pontiac. So I'll never put that to rest. I'm going to call Senator Colbeck's office and give him my support and try to work on larger support for that. So, because we look at roads as a jobs program now, not as actually fixing the roads. So, okay, the engineer will go back inside my head now. Boy, I could talk about that stuff forever. Really, I'm serious. It's big, you know. I work in international trade. Your axle weights per truck, yes, that matters. All that stuff matters, but nothing matters more than the type of materials you're building and the type of ways you're going about building your roads. So, DUA, yeah, glad we did it, and the $38 million reserve funds that we're going to get with that. I still have concerns I want this in open session so that my concerns are noted, and I'm going to nudge on this. I work for a company that's understaffed, so I know what that's like. And I've been an operations manager where I've seen departments that were understaffed. I know because I oversaw them. So that wastewater facility center there has 45 employees. And I'm not going to point any fingers. I'm not going to assign any blame. I mean, it's been understaffed for a number of years. It is what it is, okay? In my opinion, and Veolia, the company that we're looking to be the general managers of it, their study says that it should be at 48. Well, we have to nudge it up to as close to 50 and even to 52. 30 years ago, I would not be concerned one bit about the security of a facility like that. But as we talked a little bit at the study session, it's a very much a different world, and there is security concerns there. It's a 38-acre facility. There's 30 buildings, and there are security issues there. So, one thing I did notice as someone who's had to manage people is that what I saw during my tour were some employees that looked pretty tired, and just wore out from doing a good job and having to do it with a lot of hours and being undermanned. So, and whatever the operating costs of that facility are per year, they have to go up. I'm not saying that they will go up. They have to go up. You need 5 more employees to manage that facility properly. You got to have 3 electricians. They have 1 right now, and there has to be some kind of security detail to be looked at. So, it's a big facility. And that's due. So there's more to it than that. Again, the engineer in me roars out. I could go on that forever. I got to meet the pastor, Darren Burns, with the Downriver Christian Center Church. That's at 1069 Buckingham. It's just south of the Mickey Shore. So I thought a few weeks ago that maybe I was the busiest person in Wayne County. No. And I thought the electrician at the wastewater facility might be the busiest person in Wayne County. But I actually think it's Darren Burns, the pastor at this very small church. I met with them, and they're going to look to be getting involved in, I gave them a lot of sign-up sheets and talked about everything, all the events that we're working on in the city and the new ones that we want to start. That's a really dynamic little church, and he wants to get more involved with the city as far as preservation and help with the food pantry. He's just a really dynamic guy, and it really helps to inspire me and also to center me again that there's people in this town that are doing the yeoman's work of being involved. Now, he's a pastor and of course a Christian, and he's far too humble and modest to come to city council and to talk about these things, because he doesn't want to be boastful, which just goes against his principles. So that's why I'm very proud to blow their horn for them. It's a really interesting little church, and when they bought that building 9 years ago, there was nothing in there, and every single square foot of that building is being used. So it just centers me and inspires me to work harder in this town. So I also I'll send the information to the mayor. I do want him to come before our council and make a presentation so that he can reintroduce this church to the community and what a resource they are. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Earlier in the meeting, Mr. Copier related to council the cost of the retiree lawsuit, but I don't believe that he made it public to all, and that is the total cost of defending that lawsuit is $193,105.45 for your knowledge. This is a big weekend for music in our town. Crazy Baby starting on Friday, as the councilman mentioned, and the all-day jam at the VFW. Both are great events. And we have another event coming up on Sunday, which is the Easter egg hunt, which is financed by the Exchange Club. It's still a city event. And it starts at 1 p.m. on Sunday, March 25th, and to the rear of the band shell, 3240 Ferris Street. And this is for children 9 and under, Lincoln Park residents, children 9 and under. Hope you come and see that. And another good event by another great service organization in the city of Lincoln Park, which is the Rotary Club. It's Family Fun Night, their annual deal that is held at the Lincoln Park High School cafeteria. The high school is 1701 Champaign. For those of you that do not know, Thursday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., there's hot dogs, chips, all kinds of games for the kids, little giveaways, and there's many different stands, presentations where adults can get good information, and it's good for the kids too. Usually the fire department is there, the train companies are there, and many other resources that are available in the police department. The K-9 is usually there. So please make an attempt to come down and see that. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Clerk, call the roll.
Councilpersons Murphy.
Yes.
Jarzynski.
Yes.
Higgins. Higgins. Kelsey.
Yes.
Mayor Trent.
Nuts or what?